Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I call this meeting to order. We're going to have a short prayer before we start the meeting, and Councillor Crick, would you do us the honor?
Sure. Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you for the nice weather that we've had lately and for the harvest for the farmers. Lord, I thank you for the MD and all the staff and the residents that live here, and pray your blessing on each and every one of them, and pray you give us wisdom in this meeting today. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councillor Crick, for opening us in prayer. I'm going to have the adoption of the minutes. I just wonder if there's any additions to the agenda.
Good morning, Mr. Reeves. The only addition I'm aware of is that Councillor Scarson would like to speak to one.
Mr. Reeve?
Yep, just one sec. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to add item to probably new business, and that is 2026 Alberta Winter Games.
So under 9.2.7, would that
Sure.
be good? Any other?
Yeah, Mr. Reeve, I had a discussion very recently with our MLA, and he's requesting that we write him a letter. It's about Brown's Industrial and their application for an area structure plan that's kind of installed, so I'd like to add that onto the agenda, so Brown's Industrial.
Okay, Al, where would we, Mr. Hogan, where would we add that?
Mr. Reeve, I would suggest 9.2.8.
9.2.8. All right, I'm just looking for a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
Make that motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sipchik, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves the agenda with the following additions: item 9.2.7, 2026 Alberta Winter Games, and item 9.2.8, Brown's Industrial. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, seeing that, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. I'm looking for the adoption of the minutes, regular meeting 3.1.
Yeah, I'll approve those minutes.
All right, thank you, Councillor Swaggart, for approving the regular meeting of council, September 26, 2023. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. We're going to go down to new business and under 9.2.2, bylaw LU 576.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right. So this bylaw is to consider the rezoning of Lot 2, Block 1, Plan 092-5990, or part of Northeast 3368 west of the 4th. It proposes to rezone the property from agricultural district to rural commercial district. This would allow the subject site to apply for an eat-drink facility, which is permitted, which is a permitted use under the rural commercial RC district. The registered owner is proposing the rezoning of the subject parcel, and the current area for the subject lot is approximately 10 acres in size. This proposal meets all requirements of the municipal development plan and intermunicipal development plan. There is no applicable area structure plan for the area, and the land use bylaw notes the intended purpose of the RC district to provide for development of a wide variety of retail and service commercial uses, which will meet the needs of the area residents. Based upon the available permitted uses under the RC district, it is expected that there would be little to no impact upon adjacent landowners. No comments were received from adjacent landowners, and no concerns were raised from external agencies. And a public hearing was advertised and held on September 12th with no concerns raised there either. And with that, it is being recommended that this bylaw be given second and third reading. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor
I'll
Swager.
just make a comment that I think there'll be a great impact, because I think the residents around it will love it. You know, it'll give them another destination, right? So I'm happy about that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone would like to make a motion for a second?
Yeah, I'll make the motion for second reading.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Swager, for making a motion on behalf of council that bylaw number LU 57, being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonneville, number 87, to amend bylaw number 1667, land use bylaw, be given second reading. Any discussion on this motion?
Mr. Reeve?
Yes.
My apologies. It was just brought to my attention that Councillors Swigert and Scarson were not in attendance for the public hearing of this bylaw, and as such, they are unable to vote on
Okay.
it.
Thank you for catching that. Appreciate it. Just looking for someone else to make a motion.
Make a motion for second reading.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Slipchuk, for making a motion on behalf of council. That bylaw number LU 576, being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonneville, number 87, to amend bylaw number 1667, land use bylaw, be given second reading. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Looking for third reading. Thank you, Councillor Kraviak, for making this motion on behalf of council that bylaw number LU 576 be given third reading. Any discussion on this motion, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried once again. Thank you. Appreciate it. We're going to go on to 7 point.
Wait, are you
Sorry.
sure I wasn't here for this first one? I was here for this. When Wanda come up and talked? Yeah, I was here when she was here, for sure.
Would you like us to look this up right now, or
Like to do what?
you want us to look this up right now?
I don't know, I mean, if I had to vote, like, I was definitely here when she made her pitch about the bar and the barn or whatever, right?
Well, so was I, but I don't recall the
Oh, that
public
wasn't a
hearing.
public hearing?
Were you here at the public hearing?
That wasn't the same day?
I'm not sure.
All right.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go back now to 7.1 on development applications. Sorry, gentlemen, I went kind of backwards.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is Development Permit Application 2023-D-202. The applicant is Blanchard and Sons Contracting 70 Limited. The owner is Harold Hoffman. The applicant is applying for a natural resources extraction and processing facility use for a Class 2 sand and gravel pit. The property is located at Township Road 610 and Highway 657 intersection, 4.8 miles south of the hamlet of Fort Kent. Adjacent properties are residential parcels, quarter sections, and remnants. The applicant is applying for a Class 2 sand and gravel pit. The proposed pit will operate Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. The sand will require screening, but no crushing or washing will occur on site. The expected yield is 4 to 5 loads per day when hauling. A progressive reclamation plan was created by Silver Sage Enterprises Limited and submitted with the development application. A referral was sent to the MD Infrastructure Services Department, and a road use agreement is required. Adjacent landowner letters were sent out on September 11th, and we did receive 2 letters of concern. One, we were able to attach to the agenda where it is requested that the applicant develop the portion of the pit on the west first. In discussion with the applicant and the consultant, they were agreeable to this, and it can be reflected in the conditions if council chooses. The second letter expresses concern with the applicant already commencing without the permits, the abundance of existing sand pits. Oh, I'm sorry, and I forgot to hand these out to you. Existence of existing sand pits in the MD, loss of property value of adjacent residential properties, and would like more time to review the work plan and hours of operation. Recommendation for development application 2023-D-202 is approve the request for natural resources extraction and processing facility use for a Class 2 sand and gravel pit within Northeast 3665 west of the 4th as a discretionary use pursuant to Part 6, Section 2 of the General Regulations and Part 7, Section 69.2 of the Land Use Bylaw for Blanchard and Sons Contracting 70 Limited on behalf of Harold Hoffman with the following conditions. An Alberta transportation permit is required for the gravel pit use. Shall comply with bylaw 1812, the consolidated safety bylaw in relation to noise and nuisance. Shall comply with all provincial and federal regulations. Shall enter into a road use agreement with the MD Infrastructure Services. The pit shall remain less than 5 hectares, including pit, road, stockpiles, and associated facilities. Any expansion requires provincial approvals prior to development. And we do have one of the adjacent landowners here that would like to speak, and we would need a motion for that.
Okay,
Just a quick question.
yeah, go ahead.
Did you say there was commencement before the permit?
Yes, they did some stripping and some stockpiling of some lumber and some topsoil.
And when was that done?
That was done probably 2 years ago.
So then,
So they logged it 2 years ago, is what you're saying, not lumber. They logged it. You said lumber.
No, not lumber.
Oh.
No, they brushed it
Okay.
and pushed everything down and put it.
Sorry, I thought you said
Yeah.
lumber. I apologize.
She did.
Oh, okay.
okay, so then, so they're still in good standings with the MD and the province then?
The province has been out there. The province has determined that they are under the 5 hectare limit, which means they have to proceed with applying for a Class 2 gravel pit through the municipality. We're the ones that would provide approval on this small of a gravel pit. Our process for enforcement is to either get them to stop it and bring it back to pre-development state, or get them to apply for the development permit, which is the process they are choosing to take.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, you also said you had a handout for us?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to see that. Thank you.
Thanks, Christie.
Is this Mr. Kitching here? Yeah? Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to allow Robert Kitchen just speak, please.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Crick, for making a motion to allow Mr., I'll read it out. That council approves Robert Kitchen to address the council regarding item 7.2, development permit application number 2023D202, Class 2 sand and gravel pit. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? All right, I'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried. Is there a time for this?
Yes, Mr. Reeve, the speaking limit would be 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay. Thank you, sir. Come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm representing myself and the adjacent landowners in response to the noted application. Our concerns are decreased property values, which there will be decreased property values if you're next to a gravel pit. Does the reclamation certificate have bankruptcy protection? What happens if the operator goes bankrupt? Backup beepers. We have partially resolved this with the operator. What checks and balances making sure that the operator stays in compliance? And what, if any, control does the MD have? And is a 6-year permit too long? So, I mean, okay, let's just get back to the checks and balances. So if this guy's working out of the realm, what does the MD have? Tools to stop him from, let's say, if he's stockpiling outside of the zone, or? No comment, I guess, so.
Well, you're doing a presentation.
Yeah, I'm doing a
so,
presentation,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
If we have some
My first time ever doing this.
Yeah, that's okay. If we have some questions after,
Yeah.
we'll be.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
you're
right,
doing-
thank
You're
you.
doing fine.
Yeah.
Yep, awesome. Is there any? That's it, sir?
Well, I mean, the first pit, they applied for the first pit and they removed all the overburden. And I don't have that with me, but there was an application and they were on the other side and they had removed all the overburden right down to sand. And now that's been left and they've moved on to another spot. So to me, they should have to reclaim, or at least have a plan to reclaim that's already been stripped. Because they did strip right down to, they took all the overburden off on this other site. Remember, we had a, yeah, so. And they have been out of compliance, like they were working yesterday on a Sunday. I didn't want to bring that up, but they were working on a Sunday. So,
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? Yes, Counselor Sawyer.
I'd like to have this tabled, of course, but we can have more time to.
Yeah, I just kind of had questions as to the quarter section, or whether half quarter, who actually does, who owns it, and then who lives really close by? There's a map, we have an aerial photo, you don't see it, I don't think, but,
Reverend Trevor has the 10 acres off of that, and then I'm directly across, and then there's another acreage right behind that, and then Leslie Ann Sparks is also
can you
adjacent to
actually
that.
point it out on the aerial photos, or
That's
at least
pretty tough.
describe what's, or do you see that?
Have a look, well, here it is here.
Maybe she can give you a pointer or something.
Yeah. Okay, I'm so sorry. It is, right here is the acreage, I believe, yeah.
Sorry, and whose acreage is that, yours?
No, that's Trevor's.
Mr. Reeve, members of the council, we need to be very careful with FOIP, that we're not talking about other people who are not here and have not
Yes.
approved to
Yes.
have their names made public.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to figure out, there's people that I guess have residents, or I don't know the area, so I'm not sure who lives where or whatever. You don't have to mention names, you can point out residents or whatever, and homes or something, and your home is close,
I'm
apparently?
close to, I'm right across the road. Yeah.
Right across the road,
Yeah.
okay. Where's the road?
So this is the highway, and I'm right, basically, just off the map here. Yeah, I'd be right where that one here was 2 seconds ago.
Okay, and then I'll just ask our staff, then that area where the work's happening, is that owned by the person that's applying for the gravel pit?
Through the Reeve to Councillor Swigert, that is owned by Mr. Hoffman. Both the quarter section halves are owned by Mr. Hoffman.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, go ahead, Counselor Crick.
So, like, there's a bunch of concerns with the adjacent landowners, and I had a bunch of calls about concerns before too, with the noise and the hours of operation. And I see in the application there, I don't know if he's currently only supposed to be operating from 7 to 7 Monday to Friday, and then 7 to noon on Saturday. But like Robert here just said, that he's been operating on Sundays sometimes. So,
Yesterday was Monday.
okay. Good point, though. Yeah. And I read through the reclamation plan. Is there something though, like in the case of insolvency or bankruptcy, is there any kind of protection there as to what the reclamation would be? And the neighbors have concerns because they're stripping up the overburden and any dust or just noise. And then, of course, there has been non-compliance issues already there. So, I don't know, if we have to table it till next meeting to get a little more information, I'm okay with that too. I don't mind me.
So through the Reeve to Councillor Crick, the reclamation certificate is a requirement by the province. If the applicant, if the applicant and the owner do file for bankruptcy, I believe that the land will actually go to the bank that has the mortgage or whatever creditors are going to be first in line for that. So that is not going to necessarily fall back within the municipality's realm of responsibility to take care of that defunct pit if there's bankruptcy.
Okay.
Okay.
So then the bank or the creditor would be responsible to follow through with the reclamation plan.
Yes. And that would be enforced still through Alberta Environment and Protection, because this is still their rules that say that a reclamation certificate is required at the end of the pit's life.
Okay. One more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's maybe for Robert there. You'd said that there was backup beepers and that had been partially resolved? So is that still an issue then, or is that?
Well, it would be something that we would like to get in writing, so it doesn't change midway through the contract or the term, the life of the term.
But, yeah, just how do we make a motion to, like, that's a major safety in any industrial thing, so how would us as a council say, hey, there's no backup beepers, and then if someone gets run over, whose fault of it, who's liable, like, if we made, I don't know, I'm just asking the question.
Mr. Reeve, members of council, the noise bylaw, as indicated here, is for Monday to Friday operations and Saturday from 7 a.m. till 12 p.m. What noise is being made on a construction site is really, that's the time of day they're allowed to make noise. If they were doing construction, whether it was backup beepers or running equipment at Saturday night at 8 o'clock, that would be in violation of the noise bylaw. But getting deep, we have no bylaw that says they can't run a backup beeper during these times. So it would be, we would probably need to address the noise bylaw to get into that. And my recommendation would be to not get into backup beepers, regulating it, because it is a fairly significant OH&S.
Well, almost every piece of equipment, even farm vehicle, like, everything has a backup beeper now, like,
Oh,
it's just a kind of the law almost. I don't wanna make a motion to take all the backup beepers off in a pit, where people are working. If it's at midnight or whatever, yeah, there's a problem, but that's the noise, that's the bylaw for the noise, right?
Yeah. I think the biggest concern is just that if the pit's gonna be operated in a responsible way, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think it's just, they've seen the guy go in there and clear stuff out, and there's, from what I understand, there's no gravel even there, it's just sand. And, he wants to use it for frac sand, I think is the point of it. So, I'm all for developing things, but in a responsible way. Some of the neighbors were also concerned about, frac sand, the silica dust coming around. And I don't know if that's really been addressed or not. But, so.
Okay.
Is there, I'll ask Robert one more question, I guess, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there more information that you still want to get, or is, like, it sounds like, I know you indicated maybe tabling it, but.
I would like to see a table so I get more information on the reclamation certificate and
So,
Okay, but there's still someone having an application here, so they're not here to speak. Like, it's no different than any other development permit application that we get, right? If he's gonna follow our standards, like, what are we debating here?
Mr. Chief, members of council, my question administratively is if council determines that tabling this to a future council meeting is a good idea for more information, just direct administration to what information you would like, because I'm not sure what,
Because we're just going around in circles here.
yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead, Councillor Subject.
If, do we have information to the test results of the pit, like what the test results were in gravel and approximate volume?
No, that was not a requirement of the application.
Yeah, Deputy Reeve Fideo.
I mean, this guy's a developer. I don't think it matters to us how much gravel there is, how much sand there is. If he's willing to put the money into the development, then it's his issue, not ours. I mean, I think the compliance issues are more of an issue for me, but the development part of it, there is, the province is involved quite heavily, and they do regulate it through Alberta Environment, and I think they're on it as well as us, so I don't think tabling is an option here. All the information is right in front of us.
Yeah, they're way, there's way more rules and regulations than even 10 years ago. Like, these guys are on top of this all the time.
Mr. Reeve?
Yes, go
Just a
ahead.
question. And what maybe for admin here, though, because it's less than 5 hectares, is that the deal? Then are there as many regulations as there would be for a larger one? So is it really up to the MD, though, now, or is the province highly regulating what happens there?
So the province delegated the approval process for the smaller pits, the Class 2 pits, to the municipality, but the operators still have to follow the rules that the province has in place. So
Okay.
that's why we do have the reclamation plan with
So,
the application.
Mr. Reeve, I guess my concern, like, he's probably, there's something there and he wants to get it out, and that's, it's his business to do that. But I would just be concerned, though, that he's kind of doing a lot of work where we haven't approved anything yet. And so maybe Councillor Crick should table it until we make sure our planning department has checked everything. And, I kind of hate it when guys are kind of working, behind the scenes when maybe they shouldn't have been without permits and stuff. I don't know.
So, okay. go
Mr.
ahead.
Members of Council, the planning department can certainly weigh in, but he is in compliance today, having applied for a development permit. So anything that happened in the past. Today, this is actually bringing him into compliance by applying for development permit and by agreeing in the development permit that he will act according to our bylaws and obviously the provincial regulator, who has way more say over this than we do.
Yeah.
So this application is actually, so if council were to table it again, what is it that council would like then for the planning department to do in the next couple of weeks to confirm? I'm not sure what other information council would like. Happy to do it, but just please direct us as to what information council would require if council was going to table this to a future meeting.
Who's gonna babysit this? Like, is it the government that's babysitting, or we're gonna be babysitting this?
That would be the province. It is
Okay,
their
so
regulations.
if there's any regulations that are broken, that's the province's.
We will report it to the province, or the adjacent landowners can report it to the province. It is their regulations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, or go ahead, Councillor
So
Slitter.
say with the hours of, if they break the hours scheduled to them for work, and we can put course of action with our bylaw, right? Our noise bylaw, correct?
As that would be a condition of the development permit, we could do some enforcement through the development permit enforcement process. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, or anyone like to make a motion, or what are we? Yes, go ahead.
Can I ask one more question to Robert?
Okay,
Yeah. From what I'm hearing here, I know kind of what asked me to table it, but I'm not really seeing a good, I guess, a good reason to table it at this moment. I don't,
I mean, the number one reason would be decreased property value. And for me, maybe have time to make a presentation on why being adjacent to this gravel pit is gonna decrease my property value. Of the 4 properties that are adjacent to it, that's money out of my pocket. And him being in compliance and having everything go to letter, I mean, you drive around most gravel pits, there's not 4 houses or 4 residents directly around the gravel. Well, would Mrs. Kitchen want to buy a home next to the stockpile of silica sand?
yeah.
That's the question.
So,
Probably not.
do we, like, is there anything in our, this is up to our staff here, is there anything, do we take into account any, like, decreased property values when we do development permits, or?
I'll let Ms. Poirier speak to that directly, but we don't have any specific direction other than through the land use bylaw about what's required to apply for small or large gravel pits. But I'll let Ms. Poirier speak directly to that question.
Yes, the land use bylaw, it actually takes into consideration, like unduly interferes with the use, the enjoyment of their properties. The land use bylaw does not necessarily take into consideration property values.
Okay. Because I guess what I'm hearing from the neighbors is this pit is going to interfere with the use and enjoyment of the adjacent properties, or that they're concerned about that.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, we have a lot of oil field leases in our community that will fall into the same category then.
It's true.
We approve all of them.
Yeah, Mr. Reeve,
Yes, go
I-
ahead.
Just a question about how long, well, okay, sand and gravel, but it sounds like it's sand, whatever. How long is it going to take for them to, have they told you how many years it'll take for them? It says something about 6 years, but is that, so do they apply for a specific permit for a certain length of time?
They can apply for the lifetime of the pit. If council did want to put time conditions on there, council can. But yes, the applicant has it in their reclamation plan that they plan to be done this in 6 years.
So we can put on there that it's a 6-year permit, and they're expected to get all the sand out or sand or gravel out in 6 years and have it reclamation done then?
Yes, and if they don't do that, then they can apply for an extension.
Right. I'm just thinking if we put it for 6 years, that should address the property value issue, because then it's not a ongoing forever kind of pit. It's develop it, get the resource out, and put it back, kind of, so that it's.
Okay. I agree with Councillor Slipchuk. We have development applications one after another that, like I have oil wells all around my place, and they affect me, but it's just the way it is right now. I don't know. And we can't, like, it's, the government of Alberta will have the final say on this pit anyway, so if there's things that are, it'll get reported, and the Alberta government will shut them down if they're not in, you know, if they're not in appliance.
And Mr. Members of Council, just so you're aware that some of the things that are in the application, we do have enforcement capability. For example, if we find them operating on a Sunday and a peace officer is dispatched because a neighbor has called and said they're operating on a Sunday, there is mechanism in the land use bylaw and through our own noise bylaw, et cetera, for some enforcement of those things that are in our purview. There's much about gravel pits that are not in our purview, that we are just merely ancillary to the Alberta environment. But there are certain things, such as the hours of operation, that we can definitely be involved in. I would remind council of the situation that we had just south of Fort Kent just a year ago, where we had some ability to enforce that. Certain things were changed in the development application that allowed that to go ahead. They kept everybody reasonably satisfied with the operation. So we have some capability on those things that we have bylaw on. But much of this will be regulated by environment. Anything that's environmental will be done by the province. those things that are through our noise bylaw, for example, the hours of operation, we could
We can enforce
if we
it
received
with a
it.
penalty and a fine.
Exactly.
How about this 5 hectares? That's all he has? He can only have 5 hectares on the go at one time?
On the go, period. If he goes beyond that, if he proceeds with the pit and he reclaims on the way, that 5 hectares is total over the lifetime of the pit. So even if he reclaims on the way, if he does go over 5 hectares, it has to go to the province for an approval.
Well, 5 hectares is not a very big area.
No.
Just, it's over 10? 12 acres. It's almost doubled, yeah. It's doubled in a little bit. Yeah, that's, okay. Go ahead, Deputy Reeve Fadave.
So in regards to the township road and the highway, so it is not recommended to go onto the highway, so then we have to put another level of watch with the usage of our road, right? So why are we not going off the highway?
So if they wanted to go off the highway, they would have to make an approach and an application through Alberta Transportation. That is a lengthy process, and so they have decided to go off the township road. We will be getting them to enter into the road use agreement with Infrastructure Services, and it's not a very far distance that they have to travel on
So
our
on 610, is that gravel or is that cold mix?
cold mix.
Cold mix, okay, thanks.
Mr. Reeve, just one last question.
Yes,
So,
go ahead.
we're talking about non-compliance and compliance, and so I've just heard, and I don't know because I've never been there, that it's already non-compliant because they're actually working on Sundays, hearsay, I guess. But, so I guess my question is, we're not going to have constables out there monitoring this daily, so the only way, if there's non-compliance issues, the neighbors would have to complain, I would think, right? And so what's the process? Like, they would call it into our constables and then put in a complaint, and then we'd follow up, I assume? Is that, or does planning and development get involved in that?
I believe they can call it into the peace officers, as they do have a 24-hour number.
Okay.
So, and one other question, like in that picture up there, like all those trees, they're already gone. That's all been stripped off?
A lot of it has been, yes.
Yeah, so
All the trees in the picture have been stripped off?
pretty much.
So that's,
There might be some up by Township Road 610 that are still there, I'm not sure.
is 610 the north road that has red on it?
Yeah, where the circles are, there's trees around the circles. It's not just in the circle that's been stripped, it's like all those trees around the circle area, that's all been taken off.
Well, that's way more than 12 acres.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's like 30-some acres.
So a landowner or their designate is allowed to remove trees for whatever reason.
Yeah.
If they are removing it for a development permit reason, they do have to have the development permit in place. Their sketch plan for the pit does not include the westmost trees. So, if they are not actually removing those trees for the purpose of the pit, it's not a consideration.
Okay.
Okay, so you can strip all the trees you want on a quarter section like anybody else,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, sounds a little,
Can I add, because they did strip the trees and they stripped the overburden. So if it's for agricultural purposes, you would strip the trees, save the topsoil. In that area where the proposed pit is, the round one, the circle, that's all been stripped down to sand. There's no overburden left there.
okay, but that's where they're gonna make their pit.
No, that's beyond the pit. Because they had proposed a pit a couple of years ago, and they had stripped that 12 acres off too.
Okay.
You have to see it for yourself.
Well, obviously our development people, we've been out there. Yeah.
So we've been out there and is there more than 12 acres or like 5 hectares? Is there more than that stripped, like where the soil's been stripped off too, or is it in compliance that way, or?
Alberta Environment has actually been out there. They flew a drone and they determined that the size of the pit right now is 4.7 hectares.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, you gotta, yes, go ahead, Deputy Reeve Fadeo.
I'll make the motion for option number 1, the council approves development permit application so they can be in compliance.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeve Fadeo, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves development permit application number 2023D202 for a natural resource extraction and processing facility for a Class 2 sand and gravel pit within northeast of 3665 west of the 4th M as discretionary use pursuant to Part 6, Section 62 and Part 7, Sections 69.2 of the Land Use Bylaw for Blanchard and Sons Contracting 70 Limited as per the recommendations presented. Any discussion on this motion? Yeah.
We would like to recommend the addition of condition 6. Operation of the pit shall only occur Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 12 p.m., sorry.
On to this motion?
Yes. Onto the.
On to the,
So just to clarify, if it's as per the noise bylaw, they would be able to work even on a Sunday and holidays and all that. So these are the hours that the developer has said that they're going to run. So if we don't put these hours on, they would actually be able to work Monday through Friday from 6 till 10, and weekends from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
okay.
Thanks for catching that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with those adjustments.
So on that note, would it be reasonable to say work 7 to 5 during the weekdays so the neighbors can come home and not have noise in their yards? I'm not in the gravel business. I don't know how it works, and people need to be able to.
Through the Reeve, to Councillor Crick, council can add any subdivision application conditions that, or development permit application conditions that council feels are appropriate for any particular application. Keeping in mind past practice and what that may do and precedent that may set for future applications on other applications that may come in. But yes, you can set whatever times that you are the development authority, you can set whatever times you would like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm okay with the adjustments that administration recommended.
All right, thank you. Just, yeah. Any other?
Yeah, Robert had indicated to me on the phone that 7 to 7 was kind of he's going to come home and hear noise for 2 hours if he gets home from work, right? So that's kind of why I was suggesting the 5 o'clock instead of 7.
Well, I think it's till 10 o'clock, isn't it? 7 till 10?
That's the noise bylaw hours.
Oh, that's the noise bylaw?
Yeah.
But operations are when?
7 to 7.
7 to 7?
Yeah.
And the contractor gave those operation hours.
That's correct.
So if we're gonna start changing times, then we can change times for leases too, because there's sometimes the rig is working behind my house, they're on a lease all weekend till late at night. So if we start something, we're gonna have to change for everyone.
Not right now, sir. You had your chance. Thank you. Any other discussion on this motion? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Reeve, just, I guess I'm thinking that we should have had the applicant here, but I guess there's no way, we can direct somebody to show up, but anyway, because it would have been nice to have some discussion with him, and I don't know if future applicants should have to be here to present, but anyway, that was just my comment.
Any other comments? Any other discussion on this motion? Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay, welcome back. We have a delegation from Stepping Stones here. Ladies, come on up. Welcome and good morning.
Is that on? Thank you so much for having us.
Good morning, Mr. Reeve, Mr. CEO, our esteemed counselors. My name is Cindy Yang. I'm the Director of Strategic Priorities with Stepping Stones Crisis Society. With me today is my Executive Director, Susan White, and we're fortunate for the opportunity to be able to make this delegation before Council today. So we are, just to give you an idea of kind of who we are and our programs and services, Stepping Stones Crisis Society offers an emergency residential shelter for women with or without their children fleeing violence or experiencing life crisis. Currently in our programs, we offer a 27-bed emergency shelter shared with 2 shared bathrooms. We offer a 24/7 helpline open to any member of the community. We offer a pet housing service, a 6-unit second stage housing apartment program, a community support services, including outreach services and public education, and then some auxiliary programming and things like that. So as it stands right now, all of our programs and services are spread out across 4 different locations. And so for us, the need to build is prevalent. Pre-pandemic, there were many, many challenges that kind of led us into the direction of of needing a new building project. So we have been continuously finding solutions and interim supports, which ultimately impacted our efficiency in terms of operational costs, administration costs, and also created a huge barrier, such as transportation, for those community members that are needing those supports and services. So the pandemic, though we hope wasn't going to be a one-off, really opened our eyes as it exacerbated what really was deemed to be kind of the shadow pandemic, a secondary pandemic that kind of concurrently impacted those who were in violent or unsafe homes and relationships. So to that end, we're excited to share that Stepping Stones Crisis Society is embarking on a new building project that will see an amalgamation of our programs and services all under one roof, with the exception of our Bonnyville Community Support Office, which will remain here in Bonnyville. And this will provide an expansion of the supports and services that we offer into our Lakeland community here. So though the building is going to be physically located in Cold Lake, our organization does provide supports and services beyond the residents of the city of Cold Lake into the Lakeland region, inclusive of residents from the town of Bonnyville and the MD of Bonnyville, and then the residents from our surrounding reserves and settlements as well. So of course, at the inception of this project, one of our key priorities was to ensure that this project was built using local contractors and businesses to be able to support our local economy that has also generously supported Stepping Stones through the years. So at the time of our capital grant application, we were awarded the full amount needed to see this building project to completion. However, navigating that post-pandemic world has really truly increased the cost of our materials and labor over and above our projections. So to that end, we are asking for supports from our 3 local communities, namely the city of Cold Lake, the town of Bonnyville, and the MD of Bonnyville. So to date, we have received some support from the city of Cold Lake, and we have approached the town of Bonnyville as well, and we're waiting for their decision. And for those who are interested, we are able to provide kind of a full presentation on the full scope of our project, talking a little bit more about the inclusive benefits into our shared community and things like that. So just to share, the current cost of our building is sitting at $34 million, and we've secured about 70% of our funding to date. So I'd like to just go back really quickly to slide.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
What was the cost?
Current? Sorry, currently it's, the total cost all in phase 1 will be $34 million,
Okay, and you said you had how much so far?
70%.
Okay, thank you.
So just going back, just the next slide, please. Just to share why this is a big kind of issue here with us here in Alberta. So domestic violence is a community-facing issue. So just to share kind of a stark statistic here, the average child in Alberta is more likely to face violence at home than on the street. So since January of 2023, using specifically Edmonton Police Services statistics, family violence calls to Edmonton Police Service were roughly 2 times that of break and enter, 8 times that of sexual violence, and 16 times more than drug violations. So we know that this statistic is also something that's reflected kind of across communities in Alberta. To share to date, this year alone, Bonnyville RCMP has 263 files for domestic violence. Cold Lake RCMP has 286 files for domestic violence, and this also speaks to the fact that many people choose not to first call the police or report an instance of domestic violence, so we know that this number is actually a lot higher. We also know that this is an economic issue as well, so 25% of Albertan workers reported experiencing effects of domestic violence at work, and there is an estimated cost for Canada. The family violence and abuse costs in Canada are estimated at $7.4 billion each year. And lastly, the rate of police reported intimate partner violence against women in urban areas of Alberta is 535 incidents per 100,000 per population. This is higher than the national average of 461 incidents per 100,000. So so intimate partner violence and domestic violence in Alberta is prevalent and it is a large issue. So within this next slide just demonstrates a little bit about the preparation in designing the model and why we're choosing to kind of build. So on the left-hand side, we talk a little bit about the planning and design phase. So we really know that this is the one chance that we have to really build this project, to be able to bring this service into our community. We realize this is a large capital ask, and our goal, of course, is to make it the best chance possible that we can. So through our planning and design phase, we did solicit feedback, and to get that lens, not only from our sector professionals, from our clients, from staff, as well as from local leaders. We wanted to ensure that this project is sustainable, both in operational funding as well as sustainable towards the environment. We considered security features and what that would look like to ensure that those accessing our supports and services would be safe. We looked at making it more accessible for kind of those experiencing mobility or barrier challenges and things like that, but also accessible and inclusive to various family sizes. We considered aspects towards privacy and confidentiality, and then of course ensuring that the services, the structures that we were providing were trauma-informed, including being culturally sensitive, and then allowed also for the opportunity for future growth. So on the right-hand side speaks to some of the benefits that we hope to see for those survivors that come and access our programs and services, which ultimately is to improve our client outcomes by extending this continuum of care. So I know that some of you have already had a little bit of sneak peek, including our Deputy Reeve, who was fortunate that we were able to have him at our groundbreaking ceremony back in July. So we'll just go through the next couple slides here just to give some early design renderings as well. So as you'll see kind of our progress so far to date, while we were kind of percolating on the ideas and realizing that there was the need to build, our official planning really started in January 2021, and then we had our funding allocated for our grant, and then through that, realizing that we were going to meet some shortfalls, we are preparing and undergoing a capital campaign to meet some of those shortfalls. For us as well, because we are scaling up, we are undergoing some change management preparations, and we broke ground, of course, in July. And our anticipated completion date has actually been pushed a little bit into early 2025. So beyond that, we have some design renderings of what kind of the building exterior is meant to look like. This is a sample of our secure outdoor play space and garden. The shelter interior space with lots of bright windows, but will still be safe so that perpetrators can't be looking in. A sample design of a second stage apartment unit. And then another rendering of a shelter living space with a peek in the back of what our frontline office is going to look like. So that's where they're going to be taking in those helpline calls and things like that. And then lastly, this is the area view with our potential third stage / affordable housing. So as you can see, some of our solar panels there on our renderings, unfortunately, at this time, due to the cost of materials and costs, our building is going to be net zero ready. So one of the things that we're hoping to bridge the gap with is to be able to continuously fundraise to bring those solar panels back into our building project. And then you'll also notice that there are some kind of white buildings all around and things like that. So our goal here is to be able to launch into phase 2 after the completion of this building project. So phase 2 is going to be affordable housing for residents in our community to be able to complete that continuum of care. So with that, again, we were really fortunate to have the Deputy Reeve attend our groundbreaking ceremony back in July, and we're cognizant that our asks to the MD has been historically minimal. This project is meant to be an anchor and a centralized service and resource for our shared community, and to this end, we are hoping for a commitment of $500,000 in support of this building project. And if you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Ige, I did have just
Yeah, go ahead.
money question, sorry. You talked about different phases, but was it 32 million or 34 million?
34.
And was that for phase one?
That is for phase one, which is the emergency shelter. The second stage shelter, our outreach program. And it was based on, so we had to do a little fancy footwork regarding grant availability. So we had hoped to put a social enterprise in there. We were not able to do that. What we do have is open office space we can rent out. So we'll have our community kitchens piece in the bottom, but we'll be able to open the office spaces to other nonprofits in town, rotating office space for who just need to come periodically. But the idea of this is it will be a community hub. And Cindy stated that we are net zero ready. We are 54% energy efficient. It was a net zero building, but the war in Ukraine, apparently that's where a lot of the solar stuff comes from, so we were allowed to pull that out for now. It will be geothermal, and it has some kind of crazy building envelope.
So can I just ask another, the third stage,
Yeah.
which I guess, there's a picture of the third stage there. Is that located, where's that located, or where will it be located?
So the building that is not white is our existing location. To the left of that on the screen, there will be, most likely not looking how it is now, obviously, because it doesn't fit, will be third stage. So we, that land was provided by the city of Cold Lake, so we have all of the land. And the big reason for third stage is right now in our area, when our families are ready to leave second stage housing, they've gone through all the processes and supports they need. There is a 3-year waiting list for affordable housing, and there is a 2-year waiting list for daycare. So we envision that building having true affordable housing, so it will sustain itself, and it will have a trauma-informed daycare. Currently, what's happening right now is our families have nowhere to go, and if you have children and you don't have somewhere safe to go, you lose your children. So these families are going back to bad situations. In the last 2 months alone, we have turned away 73 women and children because we've been full. So there is an urgent need.
And then majority of that funding, though, came from federal government, or was it provincial and federal? Or?
We have both provincial and federal. So the federal funding is probably the worst kept secret in the Lakeland area, but they did some adjustments to it, and we cannot announce until they do. I will point out, though, that with the federal funding, we originally got the full amount to build this. We've been asked to present at, and have presented, Canadian Women's Foundation in Ottawa on the vision for this, and the Leading Change program in Edmonton. The funding that we received, it was a one-time only women's shelter and transitional housing grant, and Cold Lake received almost 10% of all of the money for Canada. So it's an impressive concept. We're very proud of it.
Councillor Crick?
Do you have a breakdown of how many people by municipality that come to the shelter?
To a certain degree. There was a time, to be totally honest, we, with the shelter, as you can imagine, confidentiality is utmost. So we collect some data because we are provincially funded for operations. We do not collect more than we need, and we don't submit any identifying information. So until we embarked on this program, we did not ask where people came from. We have started, and we are seeing the trends, but if women coming into our shelter do not want to tell us where they're from, and lots of times they're afraid, then and in the past, we've always said like Bonnieville. We never, if they said anywhere, we just checked a Bonnieville box. So we have not historically kept that data. We are amazing at data. We have all kinds of data, but that was not a data point we were recording. So that's been fairly recent that we've started to do that. But we know we have our outreach team, we have 2 vehicles, and we go out to all the communities. We occasionally can transport clients, but we will not go to a house. It's a safety issue for our clients. But we are out in all of the communities. So we know that it's the full area. We serve, the next closest shelter is St. Paul. So.
Go ahead,
One more
Councillor Craig.
question. You said you're provincially funded for the operating side, so is that 100% provincially funded, or what is that?
No, shelters have not received a funding increase since 2015. Nothing for, uptick in any increases, cost of living, nothing. We're working on that. We do, as part of this grant, we do have a letter from the province, which, as you can imagine, isn't fully definitive, but should there be money, and they can, so they committed to our funder, to the federal, to increase our funding. Currently, we do fundraise. We have 2 social enterprises, so roughly about $200,000 a year we net from those programs, and they allow us to do things like save money for this. We raised close to $3 million for this on our own. So our capital campaign will combine the whole thing, because without doing the whole continuum of care, we're not going to stop this. But we have several supporters through industry, occasionally, like in the area, oil companies, we have various. We can operate, that's probably the best way to say it. We can operate on our provincial funding. We just can't do all the extra things. So we fundraise and we run our social enterprises to be able to do that.
Yes, Deputy Reid Fidel.
Yeah, just a question to Ms. Young or Ms. White. Regards to, so we know there's more than 3 communities that are using the services of this. So is there a reason why you guys are not asking more than 3 communities for the additional funding?
And we are. That we are reaching out to all the communities. It will be all the communities, all the reserves, the settlements, everyone around us, as well as industry. I think some of the oil fields might have more money than some of the towns. So
That was my next question, but thank you.
yeah, absolutely. We are working with them. We have a gift agreement right now with Interpipeline already. They fund us. We have a 5-year agreement that totals $1 million with them. So they support us. We're in talks with several other oil companies and non-oil companies. But we are reaching out to everybody. It's going to serve everyone.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the ladies? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, 25% of Alberta workers report experiencing the effects of domestic violence at work. Like, what kind of effects do you see they have that affects them? Like, just for my understanding.
Absolutely. There are several women who can't come to work, children. Actually, the most jarring that we don't have a number for, that we really realized when we opened second stage housing, once we had the kids in there for a length of time, is the kids. You can imagine if there's constant turmoil and trauma at home, paying attention in school is difficult. So we do have an in-house school. We have a teacher who comes in and works with the kids while they're in the shelter if they can't go to their school. The biggest piece is the kids, seeing them through those, and the support of this schooling piece has made a huge difference. Kids are mean, and really if you're you're 13 years old and you get back into school and you're 2 years behind on reading, you try for a little while and then you drop out. So we see all the different levels. Our new program does hope to have a youth group area, like in the public area as well. But, and I think I lost part of your question, I'm sorry. Did I answer all of it? No.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, any other final comments, or, well, thank you guys for coming and all that you do in our area, appreciate it. Just looking for a motion now.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to accept as information.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Scarson for making a motion on behalf of council. The council accepts the presentation by Stepping Stones Crisis Society on their new building project as information, and furthermore directs administration to bring their request for funding support to a future meeting of council for consideration. Any discussion on this motion, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you, ladies. Once again, have a great rest of the day.
Thank you very much for having us, and if anybody would like to come, or like more information, or like to come and take a little tour of our shelter, I know we'd like Ben in occasionally, he's done the red shoe thing for us, but you're more than welcome, I'd be happy to show you around.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Ben. All right, 5-minute break, and then Mr. Morton, I believe he's here. Okay, welcome back. We have another delegation this morning. Mr. Dustin Morton, come on up.
Hello, can you hear?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. I'm just here for more of the crime that's going on. It's not just rural crime, it's kind of in town stuff too. But I'm just trying to get going somehow, maybe at this level, a petition out to the people in the MD to see how they like to proceed with the rural crime in the area. The cops, everything seem to be arresting the people that are doing the crime. The justice system is not holding the crime accountable for what they're doing. So for instance, like I just had my truck stole here just over a month ago, and it's an ongoing issue. When we phoned it in, the cop said, we won't even go look, we already know who took it. If you go arrest them, they'll just be out tomorrow anyways. So what I'm trying to organize is maybe through the MD people or anyone involved, you guys would know more than me, that's why I'm here, is how we can get about a petition to the general public to ask what they feel, how we could proceed with the justice system, because the system's failing what's happening, and it's been for 30 years and more. It's getting worse. It's not getting out of hand, it's been out of hand for 30 years, the crime. Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say?
I don't think anyone's disagreeing with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to see if maybe somehow through the MD we can send out to everyone's mailboxes, like we get the little booklets you guys send for projects being done. If there's something we could do with that to get stuff out to the people to ask. Because everybody wants something done, but nobody knows how to get it done, if you know what I'm saying. So this was just a step. I don't know where to go. I just thought I'd come here.
You're just wanting to start a process.
Yeah, yeah.
I know I talked to Al here the other day, and he had mentioned to me that there's, different communities and MDs and counties and towns that are starting to reach out to the minister, and he suggested that maybe as our area, we should be stepping out and talking to the minister as well. No, I don't know what that looks like. Al, you have any more on this?
Thank you, Mr. Reeve, members of council. I do know that multiple municipalities have met in the last 30, 45 days with the Minister of Justice, Mike Ellis. I would suggest that a good starting point would be for us to arrange a meeting for council to meet directly with the Justice Minister and articulate our concerns. Unfortunately, criminal and other legal issues are not in the purview of the MD. They are a provincial matter, but we should certainly be bringing this to the minister to have a conversation about what can be done. It may also be, and certainly council will have to give some consideration to, are there other people we would like to have join us at that meeting if we were to arrange a meeting, potentially people like Mr. Morton and other leaders in the community, to make it a little bit more grassroots as opposed to just another council meeting with the minister. Maybe there are others that we'd like to invite to attend that meeting as well. And Mr. Morton's concerned about his truck being stolen and then being told that there's nobody going to bother to look at it. I think those are stories that should be told directly to the minister and not necessarily filtered through Councillor the Reeve or myself to the minister or the minister's office. Maybe they should go directly. So I think our best bet to start with would be to get an appointment with the minister for all of council. Council determine if there's other people that'd like to come, and then have that meeting with the minister and articulate the case. And then hopefully they'll do something, because so far, the province has done very little, if nothing, towards solving both the rural and small town crime.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea to have like citizens like yourself to like tell it right from the horse's mouth, right to the minister, instead of us trying to tell stories, right?
Right.
And then he could see the, you know, the true feeling behind someone actually, doing presentation to them.
Well, and
So-
it's being able to, as the victim, like me, I'm a pretty nothing bothers me type person, but since this happened, like, you get up 50 times a day or night looking because a deer's outside.
Yeah.
Like you're just on edge now. Like even like for fear of my wife, like we hear something, so I go outside, so I'm looking things out. When I come in, she's laying in bed with a knife this long because she's scared that maybe it ain't me coming back. So, I mean, it's getting
Getting
where
ridiculous.
It has to get dealt with, yeah.
Yeah, Counselor Slipchik, you had something?
Yeah, would it help, could we get residents to support letters we could take with us too, and signatures? And also, I think it would be good to have some real people with us too that are going through all this, like we all, I'm sure, have dealt with something already too, and our
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at, where you can get some names on a petition or people to come in to start, because your voices are heard on numbers, right? So try to.
Yeah, Deputy Reeve today.
Yeah, unfortunately, this all sounds way too familiar for Mr. Klinsky. But stuff being stolen. Yeah, I mean, when I first started my venture here as a counselor about 6 years ago, there was a different government in power, and I had a chance to corner the ADM for the Justice Department. And yeah, it just, you know what, we've been pounding these guys for a while, and maybe getting to the stories like yourself might be key. But I mean, it's not getting any better. It's not. And say 6 years of seeing this kind of come and go. It's everywhere. It's in the cities. It's in town. It's everywhere. So yeah, and that what the impact to somebody is huge. Like say your wife's there's got
Yeah.
not sleeping too well. I know. Like say we had our home broken into, and yeah, not fun at all. So thank you.
Yeah, it's who can you talk to in the MD or the town or the city that doesn't know someone that got broke into? It's everywhere. It's just, and I witnessed the other day, I was combining in Beaver Dam area. We're going to the combines, a truck passes me, probably doing about 80. One of our constables get on that. This guy's doing about 100, we gotta back off, so I watch my constable shut her down as it's a stolen truck. Anybody that has eyes in their head can tell it's a stolen truck. They can't chase it because he's doing 100 and some miles an hour. So they shut down. So then we're combining in that area. There's trucks all over turning around on the highway and all. Then we found out the neighbor got robbed that night just down the road from where there's it's like organized stuff going on here. So it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I don't know. And like I said, I don't know what. Go ahead.
It was, I don't know how many years ago it was it like 8 years ago or anyway, the minister actually was doing a traveling roadshow, and we met him in St. Paul, and he had, I'm not sure who was there from here, but there was a couple of councillors were there, and all these residents were there telling them the same stories, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would just, suggest maybe if we can get him to start doing these traveling, kind of roadshows again, and take, get all these residents out. He's done it before. It's of course a new minister now, but like my neighbor just had his truck stolen. He's my next door neighbor in Ardmore. Had it stolen on last Wednesday.
Yeah,
So what do you do?
Something's a real disaster's gonna happen here because people had enough.
Well, it's going to get to the vigilante stage, and that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, to not go to.
Prevent, because people had enough. And it's not, like with these criminals, when they go to the court system, it's, theft over 5,000. Well, the 2 trucks of mine they stole was over $250,000.
Yeah.
Like theft over 5,000, when they made this law in likely 1900, you could buy a township of land then. So they were getting penalized for it. Now they're getting nothing because it's just theft over 5,000. But this is the era of the mental era where the stress on people, it means something now. So maybe they can push a little harder, say, well, he didn't just steal a truck over theft over 5,000, it's the mental distress they put on the people that they might get over it in a week, they might be stuck with it forever.
Yeah.
Like, you never know what it's gonna do on it. And then the average person that they're getting stole, so just out of habit, they go out and they shoot the person, well, now he gets life in jail because the justice system, they already had this guy in jail 60 times, but they didn't keep him there, so the honest guy goes to jail over it. And it's been done several times. There's lots of innocent people that go to jail over criminals. And it's my uncles, I had two uncles that were cops that retired, and they said, don't think the justice system isn't a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's, if not trillions, they're using it, it's a way to move money. It's an income. But I think they're getting a little too far with it.
Thank you. Yeah, Deputy Reed Fadale.
Yeah, just a question. Have you contacted the MLA at all?
I thought he comes to these meetings, I thought. When I talked with Mr. Galinsky here, he mentioned that Mr. Sear might have a meeting, so I thought maybe he'd be here as well. But
Yeah, he's always pretty busy, but it's something that he has to hear from you. And
Yeah.
also like the MP on the federal side, is whoever, where your boundary is, needs to hear that as well. So I really, encourage you to get a hold of them and.
yeah, I can do that. I'll be rung
Yeah.
number 2.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Definitely.
And we do that on a regular basis. We have joint meetings with the police force on once a month. We're always meeting with them, and we're beating the same drum all the time, right?
They're going hard, though. It's frustrating for them as well. Like, it's just, catch the same person all the time and just let them go. It's just, I don't
And that's
understand it.
why I'm trying to get the numbers of the people, like whether it start with a petition to get it going, because they're on this level, when you get into the upper courts and everything, that's a whole different level. So they're, like, even I fell victim of a court thing 20-some years ago. I rolled a truck by Redwater, and it was 2 days after, on a weekend, it was a Sunday night, after Saturday night we were out, so I had a blood alcohol level of 0.03. They were still trying to charge me with impaired driving because they were trying to say that it was impaired when I rolled the truck 45 minutes before they got them out and then took me into the hospital. Well, when I ended up having to go to court over it, because that was minimum 5 years in jail with no parole, because it was causing bodily harm, because the person that was with me ended up getting a hurt arm. So then I had to hire a lawyer to do it, and it cost me $10,000. So I took my checkbook out to go pay the lawyer, and he said, no, it has to be cash. I said, well, I don't have $10,000 cash on me. So I went to the bank, and I got a certified check from the bank, brought it to him, and he says, no, it has to be cash. So I ended up going back to the bank, returned the check, got cash, went there. 2 days later, he phoned, said, yep, Crown Prosecutor, we all got together, and yep, we threw it out. So why did it have to be cash?
Yeah. Well, that's a question for somebody else.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, it's up to a higher level, but it's just, the system is working the money, so. And with all the other criminals they're not keeping in is because they're paying the lawyers, everything, you hear these cash bonds all the time. Well, they don't care if they come back, get it back. It's stolen stuff they're using to make the bonds anyway. So, and that's where if you cut back on the crime, it's going to be hard on the other side because you're dipping into the bank account of the higher level. So,
Okay, any other questions, gentlemen?
It was just a comment, maybe Mr. Gandolfi knows, but it was about a month ago. I'm sure it was a minister or solicitor general or somebody that made an announcement that they realized there's catch and release, and the same criminals are repeating offenders, and so they were really attempting to change that, to start holding these guys in prison for years for what they're doing, not releasing them. So I've heard something that sounded very positive about a month ago, but I'm not sure if anybody else has heard that.
Louis, do you have some knowledge on that?
Through the Reeve, there was some changes recently. Well, there was some changes announced. I don't know if they've been implemented yet, but the provincial government was looking at ankle bracelets for some repeat habitual offenders.
we talked about that the other day.
That's a great idea. Also, some of the catch and release stuff that's, a lot of that's federal. There was some minimum sentencing involved that was eliminated over the years. I don't know exactly which sections they are, but I know that what I've heard anecdotally through the government, through my sources, is that they're aware that they would like to see those things increase, those mandatory penalties increased. So I think they're on board with changes, but they have to get it through the federal side as well. Criminal Code of Canada is a federal piece of legislation, so hope that helps.
Do you have any other thoughts about this whole, like?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it's a fairly common thing that's been going on for several years. I think that we probably need to have the RCMP at the table as well. I've heard some conversations here about the government and the MD and maybe some other municipalities and some of the community members. But the RCMP probably has a lot to do with what goes on with these types of things and what their priorities. And if the ask is going to go to the provincial government and we're going to say, we'd like to do this or like to see this change, maybe we can get some pointers from the RCMP who can point us in the right direction as far as what they'd like to see, what's holding them back. Might be an idea.
Very good point. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Reeve, members of council, just in 2017, the MD of Bonneville hosted, along with County St. Paul, Town of Bonneville, and a few other communities, a public forum just after the election in 2017, so December of 2017. And there was over 100 people at that. David Urdiga at the time, who was the MP, Scott Sear was there, David Hansen, who was the MLA, was there, and there was a forum of 100 people, offered lots of suggestions. I think the takeaway for most people is that this should not be, any false hope that this is going to be resolved anytime soon. Mandatory sentencing was in place with progressive conservative government 12, 15 years ago, and they were voted out. So the new government came in. This is as much a political problem as it is a crime problem or a crime reduction problem, and most of this is federal. So you can, Mike Ellis, the minister, could do everything in his power, and I'm not sure that it would solve a great deal of it, because the Criminal Code of Canada is federal legislation and not provincial legislation.
Yeah.
So
It's from Ottawa.
this really has to be a grassroots political question to resolve that. And without getting political myself, whether or not the federal government has any inclination to change the direction that they've currently been going in, it will be a question that voters will be asked to deal with within the next couple of years. But this is really at the heart of it. This is a political issue that's being driven by by our current federal government, and until those issues are resolved, there's not a lot even provincially that the minister can do. There's probably some tweaking on the edges, but there's really not a lot. I don't even view this as so much an RCMP problem. We have good officers, but each detachment in Alberta is likely down 2 or 3 officers. They don't have enough new recruits going into barracks in Regina to refill the ranks. So numbers of police officers are actually diminishing, although the detachment sizes remain the same. Those positions are just simply not filled. So at that point, a staff sergeant, and Louis can certainly speak to being a staff sergeant, but at that point, they're making local decisions as to where the priorities are going to be based on manpower. That's just a reality. So it's a very complicated issue, and I personally think that Louis' suggestion of finding out from the RCMP what their suggestions be, as well as taking a citizen group to meet the minister to make the things that have been happening locally, to make them hit home. I think if they get filtered through a Reeve or a councillor at a meeting,
Not the same punch.
My resident said this. Well, I think it's better if it comes from a resident directly to the minister saying, this is what happened to me. This is, my wife is nervous at night when she hears a noise. And these things then go from just being a criminal issue to now become a mental health issue. And so we increase the ranks of those that have mental health issues because they're now scared to, hear a noise at night. What used to be just a dog barking, we're now up in the middle of the night checking to see the backyard. So it has a much greater impact than just purely the loss of a truck, or a bicycle gets stolen from the backyard. There's other issues that come with that. So I would highly recommend that we give some serious consideration to meeting with the minister and potentially taking some local citizen leaders with us.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Louis, as well.
Just
go
a
ahead, Counselor.
good comment, Mr. CAO. So Leila Goodridge and Shannon Stubbs are both MPs for us, and that's probably, we should be writing a letter to them and have them forward it, and then maybe get some impact statements or something from some residents to attach to it.
Okay.
You're right, it is federal, so.
All right, any other, yeah, go ahead, Counselor.
I was just gonna say, I'll be happy to make a motion that we direct staff to schedule a meeting with the minister and invite someone like Dustin along with us to speak to exactly what we're saying here. And we can also write letters too. I'll make a motion, I think number 3 probably.
Okay. Any other questions to Mr. Morton before? Well, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. And taking the time out of your busy day.
You bet. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Have a great day, Dustin. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to make a motion yet.
That's okay. All right, they're just typing that up right now. All right, thank you, Councillor Crick, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council accepts the presentation by Mr. Morton on rural crime and the MD of Bonneville as information, and furthermore directs administration to schedule a meeting with the Minister of Justice to discuss concerns with rural crime in the community and invite some of our members of the community to attend and participate. Yes, Deputy Reeve Fidel?
The mention of writing letters to the MPs is not mentioned in here. Do we want to do that, or do we need to do that, or? Yes, so you want to add that to?
Yeah, we can
to
add
the
that
motion?
to the motion.
Friendly amendment?
Sure, thank you.
And that's to both Ms. Stubbs and Ms. Goodrich.
Okay, we have the motion with the family. You guys know what the friendly amendment is. Any other discussion on this motion, gentlemen?
I just want to thank Dustin for coming in and sharing here and bringing the issues, firsthand. I've had other calls and concerns out even by Beaver Dam area where people have lost stuff and people have breaking in and stole stuff, and it's definitely good to see some action on this, so thanks for coming in.
Yeah, a unit like yours is very unique. There's like none of them in our area, and when that gets stolen, that's like your whole life. And you need to go to work with that the next day, and you're scrambling because you got clients that need that, and that's. Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. That's carried. Thank you. All right, we'll go to 6.1, business arising from minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve, members of council. We won't go into great detail on the staff report as that was presented to council on the 26th of September. However, the committee of the whole did recommend at the committee of the whole meeting to approve the discontinuation of recording regular minutes, the meetings of council, and to make that effective for the October 24th, 2023 organizational meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
Sorry, Mr. Reeve, just, my apologies. We just need a motion to lift this item from the table.
Oh, I apologize. Looking for, yeah, Counselor Crick makes a motion to lift this from the table. I don't think, any discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried. Okay, would someone like to make a motion or some discussion? Yeah, Deputy Reeve.
I think we had lots of discussion on this, the pros and cons. So I'd like to make the motion that, yeah, I guess option number one.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeve Fadeo, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves the discontinuation of recording regular meetings of council as recommended by the Committee of the Whole effective for October 24, 2023 organizational meeting. Any discussion on this motion? Yes, Councillor Scarson.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that, we did have lots of discussion, and I don't think we need to dwell a whole bunch, but I'm still opposed to it. I think it's a step in the wrong direction. I don't know why we need to, shut it down for people viewing at home. It's, I got nothing to hide, and it's transparency, right? And that's something that some of us ran on for sure, so I'll be opposed to it.
Yes, Councillor Craig.
Yeah, again, we did discuss it thoroughly. We had it tabled here for about 3 weeks. I never had a single call on it, so I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal to people. And then, as we discussed earlier, though, there's potential for to get into legal issues, and I think there's cost savings to the MD as well as and just that we can speak a little more freely, not worrying about a lawsuit or anything coming up. So for that reason, I think I'm going to be in favor of supporting this motion.
Yeah, Councillor Cravia.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Reeve. With regards to legal issues, you can have those whether people are watching YouTube or they're here right in council chambers. What's the difference? I mean, they're still hearing everything. So I kind of agree with Councillor Scarson to be more transparent, to keep the meetings on YouTube. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councillor Slipchuk?
Yeah, we've been transparent by being on YouTube, and we still get accused of 15-minute cities and all other things, so I'm okay with taking the recordings off.
Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. That's defeated. All right, we don't need another motion, I guess. On to 7.2.
This is Development Application 2023-D-208 for Alan and Lacey Engelhart. The applicant is applying for a front yard variance from 125 feet to 77 feet for an existing mobile home addition to a single-family dwelling. The property is located half a mile west of the hamlet of Fort Kent on Township Road 615. Adjacent properties are residential parcels and quarter section remnants. The placement of a mobile home was discovered by the municipal assessors and reported to the Planning and Development Department. Contact was made with the landowner and a development permit was submitted. The applicant required extra living and bedroom space for additional children that were taken into care. They removed the kitchen and laundry facilities from the mobile home. They are requesting this variance due to the existing location of the single-family dwelling, which is non-conforming to the current setbacks, which would not allow additions or renovations on it. This location is within the Highway 28 and 41 area structure plan boundary, but not within a development node, so there are no policies for this area. As per Section 20 of the Land Use Bylaw, variances may be considered when there are practical difficulties unique to the land and when they will not interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or material interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring properties. This request would allow the house, This request would allow the mobile home to stay on the property. Adjacent landowner letters were sent out on September 13th, 2023, and we have not received any response. Recommendation for development application 2023-D-208 is approve the request for for front yard variance from 125 feet to 77 feet for the existing mobile home addition to the single-family dwelling as a discretionary use as per Part 6 of the General Regulations and Part 7, Section 69.2 of the Land Use Bylaw with the following conditions. As per Section 69.6 of the Land Use Bylaw, the minimum setback shall be side yard 6 meters, rear yard 6 meters. An approved building permit is required as per the Alberta Safety Codes Act. Applicable electrical, gas, plumbing, and sewer permits are required as per the Alberta Safety Codes Act. Building waste material shall be contained on-site in a waste bin or a covered/enclosed trailer.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Crick.
As this will bring them into compliance, I'll make that motion that we approve the permit.
Okay, thank you for making the motion. Councillor Crick, on behalf of council, that council approves development permit application number 2023-D-208 for a front yard variance from 125 feet to 75 feet for existing mobile home addition to a single-family dwelling within Southwest 3661-5 west of the 4th M as discretionary use pursuant to Part 6 of the General Regulations and Part 7, Section 69.2 of the Land Use Bylaw for Allen and Lacey Engelhardt as per the recommendations presented. Any discussion on this motion? Yes,
Mr. Reeve.
Yeah, sorry,
go ahead.
Deputy Reeve Fideo, then Councillor Swaggart.
So there was an existing, mobile home there already, and they just added on?
Through the Reeve to Deputy Reeve Fideo, there was an existing single-family dwelling there, and they added on the mobile home.
So they added on the mobile onto the home?
Correct.
Okay.
You're good. Councillor Swaggart?
Question about conformity, I guess. So the house was built non-compliant, so it was supposed to be 125 feet from center line, and it was built 77 feet, was it?
The house was built ages ago. We do not have a copy of the development permit, so we can't see what the setbacks were at that time, but it is a fairly older home, so it could have been conforming at that time.
I know the location.
Yeah.
Okay, so this makes the whole thing compliant then?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Josh's computer again. Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. On to number 9, 9.1, notice of motion. If we need anything, sorry. 9.2, planning committees. So 9.2.1.
Good morning, Reeve and Council. I bring to you this morning a small business proclamation for 2023. Small businesses fill an important role in the economic foundation of a growing community. As such, administration is recommending council acknowledge the success and hard work of small businesses in the region and their commitment to our community by proclaiming October 15th to 21st, 2023 Small Business Week in the municipality of, or the municipal district of Bonnyville. Small Business Week is a celebration that reminds us the entrepreneurs in our community drive innovation, create jobs, generate wealth, and provide a stable tax base. Small businesses help grow our community and improve our standard of living. Small and medium businesses in Canada also account for 99% of Canadian companies and employ 90% of private workers. This proclamation acknowledges this and celebrates those who make our community better by generating business opportunities, employing our residents, and strengthening our social fabric. Attached for your review as Appendix A is the Small Business Week Proclamation, October 15th, that should say 21st, sorry, 2023.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'll do that now. Okay. Small Business Week, October 15th, 21st, 2003. Whereas Canadian small businesses are the engine that drives our country's economy, and whereas small and medium-sized businesses are the pillar of Canadian economy, accounting for 99.7% of all Canadian companies employed more than 90% of private workers. And whereas small businesses are innovators bringing a new product and services to our community that improve our standards of living, creating jobs and facilitating growth to provide a stable tax base. And whereas Small Business Week is about celebrating small businesses, sharing their success stories, and changing innovative ideas and participating in events held across Canada. And whereas the Municipal District of Bonnyville and their regional business support organizations, including Community Futures Lakeland, Alberta Northern Hub, and Cold Lake Regional Chambers of Commerce, and the Bonnyville and District Chamber of Commerce pay tribute to small businesses and look forward to our serious work of strengthening our local economy. And whereas small businesses are the economic foundation of growing communities, we want to acknowledge the success and hard work of our small businesses and their commitment to our community. And whereas small businesses operate in the Municipal District of Bonnyville within the province of Alberta, now therefore I, Barry Kalinsky, Reeve of the MDA of Bonnyville, do proclaim the week of October 15th to the 19th, 2023 to be Small Business Week in the Municipal District of Bonnyville. I invite all individuals to support small businesses throughout the region and extend our gratitude to the small business owners that bolster our economy and create jobs and prosperity throughout the municipality.
Mr. Reeve, do you need a motion? Because I'll make the motion to, that we do approve that Small Business Week proclamation.
Yes, please. Thank you, Councillor Swager, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves the proclamation of October 15th to 21st, 2023 as Small Business Week in the Municipal District of Bonnyville. Any discussion? It's proclamation. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Tongue twister for me this morning. That's carried, thank you. On to 9.2.3, I believe.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
So today we are looking at bylaw number 1855 to amend the Lakori Major Area Structure Plan for second and third reading. This amendment is a minor textual change in order to allow for the implementation of different districts beyond the rural industrial district within the LaCorey area. More specifically, the areas identified for industrial use under the LaCorey Major Area Structure Plan, which can be seen on the map under Appendix C. This amendment would change the wording under Section 6.6 of the Area Structure Plan, removing specific reference to the rural industrial district, and in order to allow for any district for industrial purpose to be allowed within those areas. So no concerns were raised during the referral process, and no concerns were noted during the September 12th public hearing. With that, it is being recommended that second and third reading be given to the proposed bylaw, and if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, looking for a motion, gentlemen?
I'll make a motion for second reading.
Thank you, Councillor Sipchick, for making a motion on behalf of council that bylaw number 1855 being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville, number 87, to amend Schedule A of bylaw number 1782 to adopt the LaCorey Area Structure Plan to be given second reading. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Mr. Reeve?
Yes.
Sorry, just again, because Councillor Swigert and Councillor Scarson were absent, they will not be able to vote.
I just checked my calendar, she's correct.
She usually is.
She's correct.
Carried, thank you. Looking for third? Yes, Deputy Reeve Fidel.
I'll make the motion for third reading, please.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve Fidel, for making a motion on behalf of council that bylaw number 1855 be given third reading. Any discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. On to 9.2.4. Morning.
Good morning. Administration is presenting policy number 1.007, the cemeteries policy, to be amended. Upon review of the policy, it was determined that the Russian Greek Orthodox Cemetery is no longer titled to the municipality. The proposed amendments to the current policy would remove Section 1B, and attached for council's review is the policy. Proposed amendments were presented to the Committee of the Whole on September 19th, and the committee did recommend to council to adopt the policy. Therefore, our recommendation is that council adopt the amended policy number C-1.007, cemeteries policy, as presented.
Thank you. Looking for a motion, gentlemen? Okay, thank you, Councillor Crick, for making a motion on behalf of council that council adopts amending policy number C-1.007, cemeteries policy, as presented. Any discussion on this? Yes, Councillor Scarson.
So why, Lakeview Cemetery, why do we have to look after that one? Is it not ran by church or anything?
I'm unsure why it's under our ownership, but it is under our ownership.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. On to 9.2.5.
So administration is presenting policy number 3A.005, the specialized fencing policy, to be reviewed in accordance with our municipal policy and procedures policy. Administration did review the policy and recommend to maintain the policy as is, but is still relevant and accurate with just a couple administration amendments to the document. Change of the authority to council and the administrating department as planning and community services. So attached for council's review is the policy. Proposed amendments were presented to the Committee of the Whole on September 19th with the recommendation to council to adopt the amended policy. So our recommendation is that council adopt the amended policy C-3A.005, specialized fencing policy, as presented.
Thank you. Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Sipchick, for making a motion on behalf of council that council adopts amending policy number C-3A .005 specialized fencing policy as presented. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. On to 9.2.6.
So administration is presenting policy number 38.010, the retention of land files policy to be rescinded. Upon review of the policy and bylaw number 1658, the records retention bylaw, it was determined that the required retention of land files information is incorporated into that bylaw 1658. Administration has reviewed the need for this policy and determined that the retentions bylaw covers the criteria as it would be outlined. Therefore, it is a redundant legislation and proposes that council rescind this policy. Rescinding this policy would also remove the potential for conflicting documentation. Attached for policy's review is the policy as well as bylaw number 1658, the records retention policy. This was presented to the Committee of the Whole on September 19th, and the Committee of the Whole did recommend council rescind. Therefore, our recommendation is that council rescind policy number C-3A.015. That's the right one, nope, sorry.
That's
3A.019, the retention of lands files policy.
I have 3A010.
3A.010, sorry.
Okay. Now that we know which one we're rescinding, can I have a motion, please? Yes.
I'll make that motion to rescind.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Swager, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council rescinds policy number 3A010, retention of land files policy, as it's no longer required. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. We're on to 9.2.7, games.
Yeah, so I guess, I'll speak to that one.
Yeah,
It's,
go ahead.
So the committee for the sports tourism, made a recommendation. Son? Made a recommendation to, support the games application for $250,000 from each municipality, for the 2026 Alberta Winter Games, as well as $25,000 from the Village of Glendon. So, yeah, I guess I just brought it back to council in order to have that put into our budget. We have the next 3 budgets that we can include that on, so we can break it up into however we see fit. The games, we kind of had some preliminary talks with the committee, but really what has happened after each council supports this motion is they'll elect a chairperson to kind of oversee everything, and then the idea is to kind of figure out how to break it up, but there's just a preliminary draft has events at the Energy Center in Cold Lake and the C2 in Bonneville, the arena in Glendon, and then also events at the Kinnessee Ridge, and as well some cross-country skiing out at perhaps Maria Lake campground and all that. So spread it out quite a bit, and yeah, so I guess I'm just here to bring that forward and to make the motion that council supports the 2026 Alberta Winter Games in the sum of $250,000. Up to, I should say.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that was a
You
motion.
want some discussion, or you want the?
No, go ahead with the motion first.
Yeah, go with the motion here first. We'll wait for them to.
Mr. Reeve, we just need a source of funding identified. If council approves funding anything today, we need to determine the source of funding.
Okay, do we have any source of, that's a tough,
Mr. Members, Council, we could probably live without a source of funding if the motion was just to indicate, as discussion in the 2024 budget deliberations coming up, that would probably suffice for now.
Okay.
Unless council wants to today to actually commit to the 250,000, then we would need a source of funding. But if it's just to move forward to the budget, that would be.
Is that fine just to move forward?
I think it's fine to move forward and to also, like I mentioned, to break it up, and it would be, I would say, up to 250 because, you know, we're obviously looking for more funding from other sources, so that would kind of be the max that we've kind of committed to, right, so.
Okay, we'll wait till they write that up. So this is the Winter Games for
26.
2026, okay. Says it right up there. Okay, thank you, Councillor Scarson, for making a motion on behalf of council that council directs administration to bring back the request for funding of the 2026 Alberta Winter Games in the amount of $250,000 as recommended by the Regional Sports Tourism Committee to the 2024 budget deliberations for council's consideration. Any discussion on this motion? Yes, Deputy Reeve Fadea.
I guess a question to the chair of the committee. So where would the other sources of funding come from? And what is the total, I guess, level of commitment for dollar-wise needed?
So there's still some variables that have to be worked out depending on the amount of sporting events. So you can go from 12 to 18 different events, and so the budget for those would be anywhere between 1.3 and 1.9 million. And then the Alberta government finances quite a bit of that as well. And then there's some projected revenues for admissions and registration fees. There's also some sponsorship opportunities and things like that.
So how much of sponsorship opportunities are there in value, like, wise?
I think it was somewhere around 100,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the province is going to come up with the rest of the money, you think?
Well, it's still in talks,
Yeah.
for sure. Right off the bat, they committed to I think it's $450,000 operating grant, and then there's also some other grants for some facility upgrades that are available. And without divulging too much yet, we are in talks with them about a higher number.
So if we say we commit to the 250, is there going to be is that a cap, or is that open to later on saying, okay, our budget is at came in at 2.4, now we need another $200,000 or $300,000 more?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's a cap right now. I mean, that's kind of what we've told them, is that this is the max that we're, as the four municipalities together, are going to come up with. So, it's really going to be on, let's just say they're very motivated to make sure that these games go forward, right? So, it didn't sound like they have another alternative. So, they do have them in Grand Prairie this year, so in February. So, we'll be able to use that as a good
Guideline.
tool to see where they are budget-wise and facility-wise and all that kind of stuff. So, but we're just using the numbers based off the package that they send out, and they assure us that they're pretty accurate in their numbers. So,
Yeah, one of the concerns that I have is with Canuso in regards to our seasonal pass holders and our clubs that are joining that. What kind of impact is that going to have on our costs as far as giving these people dollars and cents back for not being able to use it? And second of all is the staff at the Ridge itself, as far as the restaurant end of it. I constantly see wanted ads on in the paper and things like that for staffing, and I'm just wondering if that's going to have a negative impact to the Ridge. There is, the flood of people, right, being so great. So those are my only two concerns there. Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it'll be a great impact to the Ridge, and it's a great sales pitch for the Ridge too, because you're going to have, you could probably tell me, Councillor Scarson, but a ton of people coming to the area that probably never been to Kinnessee Ridge before either. So I think it's great, and I don't think they'll shut down the Ridge to recreational skiers while that's happening, or do they? I'm not sure.
yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just kind of the one side there, right, with the, I think the
I
main
think
lift
you're right.
and stuff will be usable. I think they did last year on the, I don't know, side, that'd be at the east, or the southeast side or whatever, right, that run up there, so.
Yeah, my question is kind of similar to his, like, it's, like, if something does come up, we're gonna, like, let's say you're how many hundreds of thousands short or whatever, so we just split that up again, or like, how's it, like, if it's a cap of 250, and I'm sure over the next few years we can live with that, but if it's a cap of, let's say it's not a cap and it goes up to $500,000, is that, that might be a problem for council, I don't know, just putting it out there. Because I don't know what, and the benefit for the MD compared to like the city and the town, I think, have you guys discussed that, or is it like equal, like we're paying equal, are we gonna receive equal? Like, is there gonna be a benefit to the MD as much as it is to the city and the town, or
Well, I think
have you guys discussed that,
Well,
or?
I think the benefit is bringing in 2,500 athletes from all across Alberta to come see the Kinnessee Ridge, right? And, I mean, it'll be up to us to showcase what we have here, display, and have those people come back. I think that's the whole point of it, right? So, that and Muriel Lake, and then as well the C2, I mean, we're in on that, so.
Okay, so you guys have discussed that, it's kind of an equal,
Yeah, and that's why it was important for, you know, to figure out even some events that take place in Glendon, right? To make sure that the entire, because they sit on the board as well, or in the committee as well, so to make sure that everyone's included and it benefits everybody, right?
okay, so you're telling us right now, it's gonna be capped out at 250, and that'll be at, over the next few,
Well, it'll be capped out at whatever we decide, right? I mean, we can bring this back to budget deliberations and say, yeah, no, we're not in it for anything, right? So, I mean, we decide how much we wanna give, right? Right now, the motion is to say $250,000 at the deliberated budget time, so.
okay, very good.
You said, to the chair of the games, you said that Grand Prairie having the games this winter. How did they do their chair structure with the city and the county?
Oh,
Do you
I'm
know?
not 100% sure on that.
Okay, because I think the share structure could be a little different, because I think the town is going to benefit and the city way more going to receive economic benefits versus what we will
How's that?
during the games. Local business improved.
So like people that own businesses in towns and cities?
Yeah.
They live in the MD?
Okay, any other discussion?
How we market it is completely up to us, and I mean, we've got a team of people here that should be, I mean, I guess our goal would be to make sure that everyone who comes to Kinnessee comes back, right? And I mean, that should be what we are striving for, right? So, it's a marketing campaign, if nothing else.
Okay, Deputy Reeve, and then Councillor Crick.
Yeah, my only concern is, I mean, we have a great place, 2,500 people, that's a lot. I don't think on the service end of it, you know, I don't want people to come to hear that, man, what a great place, but the service was absolutely horrendous because, you know, we're shorthanded. That's my only concern is having that amount of people in that shorter time, you know, blitzing a place that's not ready. So I don't want it to be a negative impact on it. It's positive. I mean, it's positive that we're going to get the people there, but it could be a negative impact saying that we don't, you know, our service end of it was not good.
Councillor Crick.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we, as great as Kinnessee Ridge is, and the staff do an amazing job, the facility is amazing, it doesn't compare to places in the Rockies, which, if this is Alberta Winter Games, we're gonna be having people come from Airdrie and Calgary and Okotoks. I can't see them making the trip back to Cold Lake to go to Kinnessee when they have other options closer by. So there would be some benefit, like bringing their show on the hill. If they're coming from Vegreville, they might come back, but they're not going to be coming from. Not everybody's coming back, even if we do a great job.
Any other discussion? Yes, Mr.
Mr.
Holman?
Members of Council, just a couple of quick points. Just for clarity, this motion does not commit the MD to 250,000, the way this motion is currently worded.
Yes.
It only commits to bringing back the budget. So I'm not sure if that's if that's.
I think everybody here is
Okay.
very clear on that.
The other thing is that for the actual service provision of what would be the biggest part in the MD, the ski hill, we will certainly, if this is a go, we will certainly do everything we can to make sure that we are staffed up and ready for that particular week in February of 2026. It will have, likely, it will have a budget implication above the $250,000 in terms of our staffing levels. We will have to increase staff, even if it's temporary, for part-time staff to come in to work the hill and to work. So there will be some other ramifications. But we will certainly, if council wants to go forward with this, we will certainly make sure the hill is staffed with the appropriate amount of people to provide the service that's going to be required for that week.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think everybody around the table is probably thinking of the same thing, like we're gonna have a hill like that, we're not gonna be short-staffed that weekend, like. Okay, yeah, Councillor.
Is this during family days? Or is it later in February?
Yeah, I think it's family day long weekend.
Well, that'll benefit the turnout.
Any other discussion or any other comments? Everybody's clear on the motion? All right. All right, I'll call for the vote then. Okay, that's carried, thank you. On to 9.2.8.
Thanks, Mr. Reeve. So your council recalls almost a year ago, so Brown's Industrial has presented to us their have an area structure plan for development south of the traffic circle, north of Ardmore on 892. And so we've had first reading, and it's stalled, and so I kind of asked some questions, but I was approached very recently by our MLA, Scott Sear, and Scott Sear is just asking our council to write him a letter from our council to Scott Sear, just giving him the go-ahead to go ask his minister, I guess of transportation, whoever he's asking, for some information as to why maybe that transportation initiative is stalled. And so that's apparently the holdback, is Alberta Transportation. So Scott Sear wants he wants to dig into it, and so he wants a letter from us as the MD to himself, so he can move forward with it. So he's asked me to do that, and I said I can't write my own letter, so it should come from council. Yeah, I'm a little concerned. Here's a big development that could happen in the MD, and if this doesn't go because maybe the province is kind of against this kind of development, then what does that do for a future development anywhere in the MD? A little concerning. So I think it's an easy ask for us to write a letter to Scott Sear saying, yeah, we're interested in this development. There's an area structure plan on the table. We're just waiting. So anything that Scott Sear can help with would be a benefit.
Yes, Deputy Reeve.
With all due respect, I think that Brown's falls under the jurisdiction of Emily Scott Sear. That is his ratepayer as well. Why we need to have more red tape and to do all this, he can just deal with it as a ratepayer concern and go see, the minister himself. I don't know why this has to go round and round to get a letter from us. We support it. We did a first reading on it. And the MLA can take that back to transportation and say, all implications say that the MD is supporting it. My ratepayer, which is Brown's, is supporting it, and I need to move this forward. Why this round and round is something I don't understand.
I'm not quite sure either. But in his mind, it's essential for us as an MD to show support and write him a letter. So this letter isn't going to the minister, it's going to Scott Sear, and then it gives him, I guess, whatever he needs to progress with it and ask the question. So I don't think it's a big ask for us to write a letter of support to Scott Sear, just saying, please look into this for us.
But who's going to see the letter but Scott Sear?
Well, he's going to take it to, I guess, some of his ministers or something, but.
Do you have anything, Al, on that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Members of Council. My understanding, and Ms. Foley, it is here she could certainly answer some of the details. My understanding, this has to do with Alberta Transportation, intersection treatment, those kind of things off the highway. I guess the first question is, does the MD want to get involved in lobbying for a private developer in terms of their development? I think if the developer followed the Alberta Transportation request, I'm not sure that Alberta Transportation is opposed to the development. They just have some requirements off the highway or on the highway that have to be met with. I would also suggest that it would probably be more effective if council did want to get involved. It would be way more effective to write the minister a letter than to write Scott Sear a letter, who's just going to pass it on to the minister's office anyway. So those are, matter of fact, we could be even trying to arrange a meeting post RMA with Mr. Dreeshen, the Minister of Transportation, and that could even be brought up as a direct question to the minister. Is we have an area structure plan that is languishing and is just kind of idling while we're going back and forth, or the developer is going back and forth with Alberta Transportation. Is there anything the ministry can do to speed that process up? That could be a direct question, but writing a letter to Scott Sear, I would suggest council would be better off writing a letter directly to the minister.
Yeah, just one second. Did Scott say why he really needed, what did he really need the letter for?
It's an interesting question, and he just thought it would be best coming from the municipality to him, so he had something to stand on when he was asking for information from the minister. So I'm not 100% sure. Maybe we should ask Scott.
I think,
have
we need to
reach out to Scott
ask
and
him a
ask.
little bit more detailed question on that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's just not enough information to what he's asking for. If it's I guess a deviation to the original ask from Alberta Transportation. We also seen an ask from another developer just off Highway 55. Is that going to be, the same ask? Again, there's not enough information.
I think you need the details, and I've talked to Browns, and there's some details they've given me, but it's interesting because the province now doesn't want them to have any access off Highway 892.
Right.
They want them to close the access they actually have now and come off our range road, off our township road. And I've looked at the township road and thought, man, we don't need all this stuff now coming down or up and down Highway 892 and then turning onto our township road. I mean, if they have to, they have to, but it's very strange now the province really wants to shut down access to 892. I'm not sure. They don't even want him to have the approach he has now. But further than that, they want him to put approaches, they want him to run roads north and south, one road north which runs into Pure Environmental. And Pure Environmental says they're not really interested in having another road come through their properties. So it's a bit messy. I'm not sure why it's not as easy as it should have been. They applied and it looked straightforward, but like that's...
We'll let one of our, you have something on this?
I'll let Mr. Scott can speak directly to this in terms of he's in charge of the area structure plan and
Sure, go ahead.
what transportation's requirements have been.
Yes, so just to provide a little bit of detail, transportation is requesting that Browns, once they come in for subdivision beyond what they have currently on the quarter section, that their access to the highway at this point would be removed. They would then be required to develop an internal subdivision road down south to the township
our range road?
And then from there, they would be able to access onto the highway. There are requirements and regulations that Alberta Transportation has that notes that an intersection would need required spacing of 400 meters between intersections, but that is for undue circumstance or physical constraints where they would allow that. So from the discussions that's been had with Alberta Transportations, they are looking for 1.6 kilometers separation between the traffic circle and access to the highway there. And that's why they're looking to have access onto our road and then onto the highway from there. There are some requirements regarding intersection treatment that would also come into play here. There has been done a traffic impact assessment by Browns. However, Alberta Transportation did make a note that their count was incorrect because it was done during COVID. So the actual count numbers of vehicles was lower than what would have been at a regular time. And so they noted, Alberta Transportation noted that, and has requested that Browns redo their traffic impact assessment to better reflect, as they believe it would note the intersection treatment would be required once the traffic count numbers were correct. So there were a few kind of mistakes from Browns there. And then as to make a note as to why they're going, they've requested access north into the quarter section just north of them. They're just making comments that because that northern quarter section is bordered by two highway on the east and north side, that they would run into a similar situation. So Alberta Transportation would not allow them access to that, to those highways. And if we approve any sort of subdivision or anything along those lines, and we are unable to provide them with access, the municipality may be reliable for paying for the costs of providing that access. And so with that, it's just good planning to have, be prepared to absorb that access and that traffic that would come from any sort of development of the North Quarter section down to the municipal road and onto the highway there, so that we aren't caught with those costs in the future.
I just have, go ahead and then I'll.
I just had the question that, because the provincial Department of Highways regulation was 400 meters between approaches on a highway.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they've come up with another one, which is, you said 1.6 kilometers?
Yep.
So, but that wasn't in any regulation, they've just kind of arbitrarily said that?
Nope, that is, they have a regulated guidelines, so there is, it is down in writing for actual regulations that they are following.
Yeah, I find it, I'm not sure what's going on there, because you look at Highway 41 and we've got, several businesses, it's kind of one of our corridors, and the province wasn't that hard on all the businesses along there. So I just have this feeling that we're going to, I look at other big developments that might come into the area, and if we say nothing as an MD, then, you got some guy sitting in an office somewhere saying, no, you can't have approaches for your whatever project. It makes it a bit scary for folks even wanting to apply in the MD for developments. I don't know. So I will suggest then that administration reach out to Scott's here and clarify what he actually needs.
Okay. I also, our road there, pretty well right after that road, doesn't it just start diving into the river? Like off that road, like to have all that traffic coming out of Browns, the big subdivision coming to a kind of like a poor part on the highway. It doesn't make sense to me either, I guess.
So in terms of the actual layout of the road, with the proposed, it's tough to say without a map here, but with the proposed ASP, they would only be on the road for a very minimal time. It would be within the first few meters.
No, I understand that, but when you're coming from our road onto the main road, onto the highway, that's kind of on your right, that thing just starts diving to the river in a matter of seconds.
Mm.
And then you have, where Brown's main thing is, you can see both ways, it's pretty nice, but now we're gonna force all that traffic to come to our secondary and onto the highway, where it's, it's the vision is impaired, there, in my view, but maybe I don't know, does that make sense?
You're right, and I had concerns about big trucks coming down from Ardmore down the river bridge up the hill, so they've got a pin to get up the other side, and now you're stopping them to turn on that range road.
We need to talk to Scott Sear and see what he needs, and that's all. And thanks for, that's a little bit more understanding for us. Appreciate it.
Mr. Reeve, members of council, just to potentially, if council would give some consideration to tabling this to the next council meeting, and Scott could come back with actual maps.
Absolutely.
Not everybody is as familiar with
that area.
Potentially you are, and Scott would be, to see what this looks like. And I don't think the province is against having development having approaches. They have some very strict regulations, and we want to make sure that no matter what happens, that the MD doesn't end up holding the bag on having to pay for an intersection treatment either on 55 or on 892. I think what they want is a service road that will run parallel to 892 and potentially when the north piece is subdivided off of 55, that there is access to get to whatever the north part of those subdivision may or may not be. The long-held concept is that developers pay for development,
That's right.
not the MD, and I think that's one thing we have to be careful about here. So if council would like to make a motion to table this, and we'll bring back maps to the next one, then from there we could maybe decide, maybe Reeve could reach out to MLA Sear to find out exactly what he wants, and then from there we could we'd go from there. Just to be clear, this is not an MD planning department issue. This is transportation is the issue right now.
No, I think everybody's clear on that. Thank you. Okay, appreciate it. We don't really have any, do we need to make it, we don't even really have a motion. Do we need to table something? We're just information.
Yeah, we can just come back in 2 weeks with
All
some
right.
maps and stuff. Or even at the committee next week, we can come back with some maps.
All right, thank you. We're on to 9.3.1, council invitations.
Thank you, Mr. Reed, members of council. This is regarding 2 invitations specific to council. One is the Cold Lake Snowmobile Club Sleds and Threads fundraiser on November the 11th. There is the appendix where you can see the actual invitation. The Snowmobile Club is hosting their Sleds and Threads fundraiser at the Cold Lake Agriplex. Funds raised at the event will assist the club to maintain various trail systems and facilities for snowmobilers that carry an Alberta Snowmobile Association Trail Pass membership. Individual tickets are $75 each, or a table of 8 can be purchased for $600. And second is the Ronald McDonald House Charities Taste of Home Edmonton, November 24th. There's also an invitation attached in the appendix. They're hosting their Taste of Home Edmonton event on the 24th of 2023 at the JW Marriott in Edmonton. The annual gala supports the work that the Ronald McDonald's House does, which provides accommodation, transportation, meals, and more to families with sick children. Individual tickets are $250 each, or a table of 10 can be purchased for $2,500.
Mr. Reeve?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we allow council to attend the Snowmobile Club fundraiser.
Okay,
And do we have a source of funding for that as well?
And how much is it for? Like what?
Is it $75 a ticket?
Usually in the past, 1 or 2 have attended.
Okay.
I've attended the last quite a few years, and it's always been a max of 2 people usually, so.
Like a couple, like 4, or just yourself?
Just myself.
Counselors?
And I think last time Mr. Hogan was there before, DeReeve was there and things like that. So just a matter of having 2 people there.
Okay.
I don't know why, but that date is always to be, I guess, in conflict of other dates. So that's why council's never been there on a,
Big.
yeah, the big showing. So it's
Is
always
there
been
any,
1 or 2 people.
are there any funding that can be provided for, like, that we could?
Well, Mr. Reeve, members of council, just the staff report indicated that at the time of the writing of the staff report, there was $1,560 remaining in the 2023 council grants to individuals and non-government organizations budget line. There was another fire payout that came from that, which that budget line is now oversubscribed by approximately $1,200, $1,300. So we would have to find another source of funding. The easiest thing to do today without getting deep into budget line items would be out of the cash flow reserve.
But don't we have an allowance? Each councillor has an X amount of dollars for an allowance that could come out of that as well?
If the individual councillors want to pay for that, depending on what's left in individual councillors' budgets as well.
I'm just, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, I'd like to see council support it. I know in the past I've gone, I went with Fred Bamber and I went to it, and we didn't get a lot of council there, but, that's a fundraiser for them. And we didn't give them any, funds this year when they applied. So
Okay.
it could help them.
So you're making a motion to,
Yeah, I've already made that motion. I'm not sure if you have to reword it to say take it out of individual
She
just
councilors'
needs funding
accounts.
first.
Is there a certain amount of tickets that council would be interested in purchasing or a table, just so that we have clarification as to how much money we would be spending for the event?
I think for two counselors, the way I'm like, two counselors should be lost. I think, looks like Counselor Swaggart and maybe Deputy Reeve Fideo would like to go, or?
Yeah, I have to look at my schedule and then go from there for sure.
Okay, let's make it for two counselors.
Up to 4 tickets? Or just 2?
Well, you know, how, if you get 4 tickets, like, and if I'm going, I'll pay for my wife's ticket, but,
Okay.
yeah, so. And I'll probably just go and buy it myself anyway, so, with my wife.
Let's go with 2 tickets and then you can get extra, or go for 4 tickets and then pay for your wife. All right?
Sure.
Okay. Do we have any other ideas where to, or we're just going from individual council?
We can, right now, the easiest thing is the cash flow reserve, because I'm not sure.
Okay.
We'd have to get finance to look in to see what's in everybody's individual account, and.
Okay.
This is not that much money.
Once you find it, you'll take it out of
Yeah.
wherever
We'll
accordingly. Okay.
we'll figure that out.
Is that good with you, Counselor Swaggart?
Sure.
Okay. Motion made almost? Yeah, sorry, ladies. Okay, thank you, Counselor Swaggart, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves attending of 2 counselors to the Coal Lake Snowmobile Club Sleds and Threads fundraiser to be held on November 11, 2023, at the cost of $75 per ticket, to be funded from the cash flow reserves. Any discussion on that? All right, we'll call for the vote. That's on Remembrance Day, isn't it? It's Remembrance Day, isn't it? That's probably why it's, yeah. Carried. Thank you. On to 9.3.2.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. Members of council, the next one is the Ronald McDonald House Charities Taste of Home Edmonton. Tickets are $250 at a piece, or 10 for $2,500.
That's Edmonton?
That's at Edmonton at the Marriott.
Any comments or any discussion? Anyone like to go?
That's a big commitment,
Yeah.
big dollars.
I'll go to that one.
Yeah? Can you buy, do you have to buy a whole table for this, or do you?
2 tables.
You can buy individual tickets. They're $250 each.
Okay. I don't think we have enough support to buy a table here. I don't believe. But we can buy an individual ticket, for sure, or tickets. Go ahead and make a motion, Lonnie, whatever you decide.
Well, how many tickets, how many councils can go? I don't want to waste it.
Oh, it's not a
Josh?
waste. No.
Just gonna make
I
a
think with
motion.
Ronald McDonald House, I mean, it's affected everybody, and I think we all use it to be, you know, for you to be a representative there. I mean, kind of, you know, hits pretty close to home for you, so, you know, yeah, I don't think I can make it for that day, so. But I'll make the motion to send you.
For 2 tickets?
Yeah.
Out of cash.
Out of cash reserves? Again, until we find out where it's coming from? Is that okay, Al? Works okay?
The cash flow reserves is easy. I would just make the comment that council did set a budget number, and we'll now be $2,000-3,000 past that budget number the council set last year at council deliberation. So, but yes, cash flow reserves would be the easiest place for it to come from.
Okay, thank you. You made the motion, Deputy Reed? We're just waiting for it to come up. Thank you, Deputy Reed Fidea, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves the purchase of 2 tickets to the Ronald McDonald House Taste of Home Edmonton, held on November 24th, 2023, at the cost of $250 per ticket to be funded from the cash flow reserves. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. On to 10, correspondence and information.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve, members of council. You can see the list of correspondence and information that we received in the last week or two. A report from the C2 Center, Beaver River Regional Waste Management Condition, their draft minutes, an invitation from Clear Think Group Regional Food Initiative meeting, invitation from Four Wing Cold Lake for the 2024 Air Show Corporate Opportunities Luncheon on the 16th, invitation sponsorship request from Canadian Natural Resource Limited for their steak and shrimp fundraiser on the 21st, report from CNRL, their stakeholder report, and the council action report.
Thank you. Any questions? Just looking for a motion to accept this correspondence and information.
I got a question. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
I'll make the motion, then you can ask a question. Thank you, Councillor Kraviak, for making a motion on behalf of council that council accepts the following correspondence as information, 1 through 7. Any discussion on this motion? Councillor Crick.
Yeah, I just noticed in the Beaver Waste Commission minutes that there's Kihiwin's First Nation is maybe asking to join the Waste Commission. And I'm not, it's before my time on council, and I'm not sure what the costs are involved with that. And if you could just maybe elaborate on kind of what the costs are and what that looks like.
Yeah, I don't have the exact details, but the commission, the city of Cold Lake, town of Bonnyville, the MD of Bonnyville, Somerville just paid into that years ago, in a fair amount years ago. So if, and it's kind of based on percentage of population there will be that buys into it. So I'm not sure the total value, but it was probably higher than they'd actually want to have to pay for their percentage to buy in. And so there was kind of discussion about it, and we'd offered them, I think we sent a letter back to them saying, you know, maybe you want to rethink, you're welcome, but the price may be higher than you're willing to kind of pay. Because they were actually, their waste was going to, I think it was Evergreen or whatever in St. Paul. And that, so now they maybe like to join our commission. So it's kind of, I'm not quite sure why it's been offered to them, so I'm not sure.
So basically, they want to use the Bonnyville landfill. Is that
no?
No.
Well, that's probably the location they actually would haul to, is the Bonnyville landfill. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Haul to. What's the difference between haul to and use?
Yeah, you might want to dig into that, why the commission is there for. I think it's the idea that they're going to use the Bonnyville landfill to dispose of their goods. I think it's a matter of letting know that it's transported to Thorhill and all that stuff.
Yeah, so they were sent a letter, actually. I don't know if we've, probably haven't got a response back from them yet as to what their intentions are and if they're willing to pay, the percentage of money they'd have to pay to join the commission.
Thanks. Any other discussion on this motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Council reports. Mr. Scarson.
Yeah, well, I had the Alberta, or the Sports Regional Tourism Committee, and we discussed that already, obviously, at a library meeting here last week. It was business as usual as well there. We're working on budgets there and stuff. I think they're presenting maybe our next meeting here, or very, very soon after that. And I have a meeting next week with the Alberta Bilingual Society yeah, we haven't met forever, so it'll be interesting to hear what we gotta talk about there, so
Okay,
that's about it.
thank you. Counselor Swigert?
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. October 3rd was the start of the Power Up North Conference. And so the Power Up North Conference was economic development, small business, lots of speakers talking about initiatives that you can use to attract people and comments about rebranding and how to go about it. And so there was a meet and greet at the Cold Lake Brewery on October 3rd for that evening. Lots of folks from out of town and throughout different parts of Alberta. And then the conference went October 4th and then half the day October 5th. One of the keynote speakers, Roger Brooks, he talked about top 10 fastest growing trends in tourism. And so he's a world-renowned kind of tourism guru and rebranding guru. Roger Brooks was the guy that helped rebrand Vermilion a few years ago. And so he talks about all the different ways of rebranding and what people come to your area for. They don't come because you have Great Lakes, because everybody has Great Lakes, but he talks about they're coming for the activities that you supply at those lakes, that sort of thing. So lots of good information from him. Travel Alberta speaker Chris Downs. Esther knows him. There's a few folks at the MD that know him because he works for Travel Alberta. He's been supporting this area. So Northeast Alberta now in our area is one of the areas that Alberta Tourism is starting to fund. And rather than, they've realized they've put millions and millions of maybe billions into Calgary, Edmonton, Banff, Jasper, Kananaskis, that area. So they've decided to kind of spread some of that wealth. So it's really good to know Chris Downs, and he's really happy about this area and what we're doing at Kinnessoo. So there may be more to come from that. So he talked about tourism grants and opportunities and the money that's available for that. He was the destination development manager, and he's tourism development zone Northeast Lakeland, so that he's the area manager for that. And Roger Brooks talked again about marketing your business on a minuscule budget and talked about ways of just using Google. And it's interesting because he mentioned Google and said like 99% of the internet traffic now is Google. But he said one of the things a lot of businesses don't do, they'll have a website on Google, or sorry, a Google listing. And he said people won't claim their own Google listing. And so he says, claim your own Google listing, and then you can go update it, add to it. But he had lots of different bits of advice. Get on TripAdvisor, he said also. He talked about towns and how they should have, set up their main streets to attract tourists. Another keynote speaker, Michael Kerr, he talked about workplace culture, leaders leading leaders, and very good discussions. Mackenzie Brown from Indigenous Tourism Alberta had a good session on all the kind of Indigenous tourism initiatives that are happening. And I would probably say that one of the ones that was mentioned most was Métis Crossing just outside of Smoky Lake. Let's see what else. Lots to talk about rebranding. Interesting comment he said about rebranding. Says you need to create a strong team of support from your chambers, community futures, and tourism. And he says it shouldn't just be a council-led initiative. You really need the chambers, all the folks out here that have been doing it forever to help lead that. Talked about we have lots of trails in our area. He said definitely get your trails listed on the All Trails app, because that's the one everybody in North America uses apparently. And then he said campgrounds, we have lots of campgrounds. He said make sure they're listed on the Campendium app, and I hadn't heard of that one. I'd heard of the All Trails app, but Campendium, maybe Esther's heard of that one, I'm not sure, but sounded important. I took him after the convention was over, I asked him if he had time to go out to Kinnessoo, because I talked a little bit about Kinnessoo during his talk, and so he was able to come out to Kinnessoo. I had asked the manager to come up, and so as we're having lunch, Ian don't remember Ian's last name, but the new manager out there came up and talked to Roger Brooks, and they had a really good chat about Kinnessoo and possibilities for, you know, what we're doing, and compared it to a really nice resort apparently in North Dakota. But he said ours is doing probably a bit better than theirs. But one of the things he mentioned was something called the Zorb attraction. And there's only 4 in Canada, and it's you've all probably seen them, but it's a great big kind of inflatable type ball, that one ball inside the other, and you crawl inside and get 3 people inside the inner ball. And they have a kind of a channel cut in the ski hill down the side somewhere, and they ride this ball down. He said it's attracting people from North Dakota. It's attracting people from Winnipeg to go out there for, you know, for the day or whatever, enjoying this Zorb ball. So he just recommended Zorb for Kinnessoo. So that was quite interesting. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Crick?
Yeah, October 5th, I attended the Bonnyville and District FCSS, what was it called? The Business of the Year Awards, sorry, slipped my mind. It was the FCSS won the Building Community Resilience Award, and it was a good evening. A lot of local businesses won a lot of awards there. And on October 3rd, we had an Egg Service Board meeting here. We decided to keep the coyote bounty and wolf bounties in place. Increasing the wolf bounty though, coming up this year, because there's been a lot of predation around that. And that's about it for me. Thanks.
Yeah, Councillor Crevia?
Thank you. I just attended the Ag Service Board meeting, that's it. Just to add to what Councillor Crick said, there were 10 canola fields inspected for clubroot. No clubroot was found. There's the ASB conference in Lethbridge at the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center, January 22nd to 24th, if anyone's interested. The Bonnyville seed cleaning plant is now back to regular hours. In the south, 15 of 17 counties declared an ag disaster. No rain. The wolf reduction program was discussed. There's a lot of predation in my area, Goodrich, Truman. And also, I think Beaver Dam, in one person, he lost 17 head to wolves a while back, so I'm not sure how many he lost now. And there's a VSI meeting in Peace River November 3rd, which is our budget meeting, so, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Deputy Reeve Fadib.
Yeah, I went to Alberta Municipalities Conference in Edmonton. That was very, it was good. I really enjoyed it. Kind of gave us an idea of what rural and mid-sized municipalities are looking for, and there's quite a disjointment to what each one of them thinks they need as well. So, but the common, I guess, the common ask from the province and from the feds was housing, and housing. So anywhere from affordable housing to transitional housing to housing the homeless. So that was a big talk. Also for a lot of mid-sized cities, we're asking for special funding from the province as far as their growth. City of Airdrie, has seen a lot of growth, so they're looking for an extra level of, I guess, the new FF. What's the new funding model for? LG, thank you. They're looking for special funding from the province. Really show, those guys are really pounding the province hard for funding for themselves, and it was fairly disjointed around the small villages and the big cities. So they also, one of the resolutions they brought up is asking the province for the reported deductible for accident claims to go from $1,000 to $10,000. They're finding a lot of these smaller claims need to go into the RCMP station, and that's taking extra time for those guys. So they want to up that the same as BC did. And that's about it, but it was definitely great value to go there. and great to see our other municipalities there, can actually talk to them, and it was a good time.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Slipke.
Okay, I don't have much more to add, because I was at the Power Up North Conference, except, and I forgive you, Dana, for not inviting me for dinner. That's okay. But anyway, Roger Brooks, he was very interesting to listen to. He was talking to him about Montana. He said they create $300 million a year industry on just fishery, on fishing tourism. And that's pretty amazing. And Michael Kerr we listened to. It was a very informative session at Power Up North about promoting your municipality, your town, whatever, as well as he said, make sure when you're doing the rebranding to live up to your promises on your, whatever your motto is going to be. So it was very interesting to be able to listen to him speak, with, especially with us coming up with new rebranding here, talks soon. And as well, I'd like to mention that we have a comedy night coming up at the Corey Hall on October 21st, 7 p.m. It'd be nice if you guys can make it there if you can, please. And I'm sure it'll be a great event. And that's all I got. October 21st.
I can't believe he's inviting you when you didn't invite him.
No, I didn't. You just didn't invite me. You just want to steal it.
Next time. I don't have much to report, but I'll what Councillor Kraviak said about this guy, his game camera would catch a wolf on the game camera, and then like a day later in that area, he'd lose a baby colt, a baby horse and a colt there, and he said, yeah, so he's got real problems with wolves, so he's losing a lot of colts right now. So, yeah, big problem. Right, thank you, gentlemen. Do we have any in camera? Nothing, so I just need a
Mr. Reeve,
motion.
I just got to say
Oh,
one
yeah,
more
go
thing.
ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're gonna throw it back at me. Here we
No,
go.
no, I'm not. It's just, when he's talking about rebranding, I think Donnie heard the story, but he talked about a little community that didn't know what to do. They were just right on a major highway, but couldn't attract people in. And so the woman in town had a bakery, and she was making really, really good cinnamon buns. And so now they're famous for cinnamon buns because they had and why they're famous is because she made some special, she spent a couple months building special cinnamon buns, and they came up with one that was special flavored or whatever. But they had, it was close enough to LA and some other places that they got TV guys come in and and film all these and tasted all these things. And so then you got TV personalities say how great these cinnamon buns are. So within the year, they were overwhelmed by tourists coming off the highway for cinnamon buns. And then it took them about another year or two. They started, other businesses in the community started making cinnamon buns under this tutorage of this woman.
Yep.
And so then they ended up with everything was kind of cinnamon bun based, even the hairdresser and everything. It was just pretty, it's this really good luck story about rebranding based on a really good cinnamon bun.
Thank you for that. All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. All's in favor, or I call for the vote? We're all in favor. Thank you, gentlemen.